Don't take my word for it. Look that mess up, please.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? KCE, King
An
Chaka.
educated and united public cannot be controlled. Get organized.
Learn to be active.
Looks like we got us another hit.
Did you tell her to get away from me? She's crazy.
Choose your destiny.
An educated and united public cannot be controlled. Get organized.
Learn to be active. Investigate both sides of the argument. Come up with your own conclusions.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? KCE, King Chaka.
Hey, how y'all doing out there? How y'all feel? Remember, an educated public cannot be controlled. Learn to be active. The views and events expressed here are totally whack and are not necessarily the views of anyone. ¿Cómo estás? Bien, bien, bien. ¿Podemos ayudarnos más? Sí se puede. And don't take my word for it. Look that mess up, please. We're back, we're back, we're back. Where is my... I'm missing what I'm looking for. We're back, we're back, we're back. Today, the name of this show is Can't Hear Over My Thoughts. Can't hear over my thoughts. So the idea is sometimes, I don't know if you guys can relate to this, but sometimes when people are talking, it's like my thoughts are drowning out their words, right? And I can't focus on what they're saying. You know, there's always a delayed moment that passes when people are speaking. And, you know, a lot of times I pretend that I just couldn't hear them. I heard them, but my brain didn't compute what they said. You know what I mean? Like it took me a moment. It's a delayed reaction, if you will. So it's like, I don't know. It's an issue that I have. I don't know if it's related to ADHD. I don't know if it's related to like abuse as a child or something. But it's like my thoughts are always going. You know, like I'm analyzing every little aspect of the situation. So it causes a delay and it makes me seem like I'm slow, you know, to people. And I think a lot of people do think that I'm just kind of slow. And I'm okay with that. And I'll take that, you know, because really I am. But, you know, sped up and slow, depends on perspective. So people's perspective is that I'm slow, but the reality is that I'm like overthinking the situation, leading to a, a slower reaction. And sometimes I have to tell people to repeat what they said so that I can really kind of like get to the point where I can. It's really like trying to determine what is the proper answer or whatever, or what is the proper response or whatever. Like that's an issue that I have anyway. So I can't hear you over my thoughts. And it's a problem. It's something that I struggle with all the time. I mean, I wonder how many people out there have those kinds of issues, you know? Is it common or is it just like, you know, a few people who have these issues? I wonder about that. And I wonder if it really has to do with like cognitive ability or being on the spectrum, things like that. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. All I know is that, you know, whenever I look at stuff like this, I try to expand it to society. And I think about society as a whole. And, you know, if you have people out there who aren't, you know, you have a lot of people who don't listen at all, and they're just waiting for gaps in the conversation so that they can say their replies or whatever. Like they're not hearing what's being said at all. They're just waiting for a pause for them to jump in there, you know, and it's kind of like they're pretending that they're listening, but they're not hearing you. What's up, A. Smith? Thanks for being here. So much BS in the world, that's for sure. What he says, when I hear someone say one thing, I do another, I'm out. One thing and do another. He says, I call them snakes. Yeah, you know, I have a problem with lying. You know, I'm terrible at lying, you know, and it's kind of on purpose because I don't want to be good at lying. You know, I don't like the lies. I don't like the deception. It's like when someone is cheating on you, I believe that it's not the act that hurts as much as the lies about it. You know, like them covering it up, them telling you they were at this place when they were really over here. And when you do stuff like that, now I can't trust anything that you say, you know? Even sometimes like I can see through your lies. I know that you're lying. And when it's like that, then there's still a bit of trust there. But when you successfully lie to me and I believe it to be true, now I'm gonna have to question everything that you have said. And now with my overthinking and I'm going into overdrive, it just I like simple. I like simple life. I like people to be straightforward. Like somebody's racist and hateful. Just be racist and hateful. Like we can sit down and have a beer. We can have a conversation. We can chop it up. That person that pretends to not be racist and hateful is the one that I really have a problem with. Okay, you're not being honest with yourselves. Even like you're not even aware that you're hateful and racist. Like you're so deceptive that you're deceiving even yourself. Like, wow. I want to be as far away from you as possible. Let me put this in here. I mean, Ewan. What up, Ewan? You there?
Hear me?
You there?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Right, I'm here.
What do you think about what I was just saying about can't hear you over my thoughts?
I feel it's definitely something that I relate to because in the same way that you have difficulties sort of listening or people may have difficulties listening to you, I have the same thing where I have to remind myself consciously to stop and listen because I believe it's just an aspect of humanity that we wish to be understood before anything else. So we want our point to be heard before we hear anything else. But to reach an understanding, you have to understand what another person's saying, which requires you to actually listen. and not just listen to what they are saying, but why they are saying it and the way they are saying it.
Right. So the communication is a two-way deal. So it's giving and receiving messages. Sometimes you have people who are just giving messages, and therefore they're not actually communicating. Right? You,
Yes.
you you have to receive messages to be in a process of communication.
Right.
So, and that takes effort. Like, there's different words for hearing and listening for a reason, because you hear the background noise, you hear the birds chirping, you hear the cars going by, but you're not really listening to those things. You know what I mean? When you're
Yeah.
listening, you're intentively like paying attention and taking in the information, dissecting it and breaking it apart and coming to certain conclusions or whatever.
Yeah. It's like the difference between taking in information and experiencing it, because we all take in a sunset, we see the sunrise, but very few of us actually experience the sunset or sunrise because we aren't paying any attention to it. It's just something that occurs.
Mhm. I think that's the same thing with life. A lot of us let life go by without actually living it. Just because you're alive doesn't mean that you're living,
Yes.
um,
I feel the same.
experiencing life, being in the moment. I think we spend most of our time in the future or the past because we're mentally thinking about, the things that we need to accomplish so that we can get where we need to go. Or we're thinking about the regrets that we have about the failures that we had in our past, And, when we spend most of our time thinking like that, then we're not in the moment and we're not enjoying life, really. We're not experiencing the life. If that makes any sense. Anyways, so
Can you hear me? Just checking for Mike.
yeah, I can hear you.
Right. You could hear me the entire time?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Just making sure.
Freaking earlier we was talking about like the Bible and the perception of women as a result of the Garden of Eden story, the original sin story, and how it relates to misogyny, patriarchy or whatever. And I was saying that I feel like that's the root from a lot of that. People subconsciously take in, that story from the Bible, and it gives them ammunition to think of women as lesser. And that's one of the reasons why I don't really like the Bible very much. So, and that's also why I feel like we shouldn't put so much, reverence into one book. What I like to say is, a lot of people in the hood, they'll always be like, you need to get into your Bible. You need to read your Bible. That's what you need to do. You need to read your Bible is what you need to do. And it's like, I'm like, okay, I mean, you can know the Bible very well, but there's a lot of other books out there. And are you moving around or something? Because it's getting like this weird little wobble sound.
No, I believe that's the air conditioning.
Anyways, it's distracting me. Freaking.
I'll mute my mic when not talking.
Okay. You do. You don't have no earphones or nothing you can use. Anyways, what was I saying? I lost it. The different books. Read more books, okay? Learn about other religions. When you feel like your religion is the right one and all the other ones are wrong, that leads you into this, centric view of the world, like this perception that I am greater, I am better, I am right and you are wrong kind of way of thinking or whatever. I don't know. Am I losing y'all? I lost my frame of thought, but it's like Read more books. That's basically what I'm trying to say. Don't just read the Bible. It's okay. You can read the Bible. That's fine. But don't just read the Bible. Read more books. Well, what is your comment on that, Deuce? I mean, Ewan?
Now I can see the. Can you hear me? Because I just switched to headphones. Just making sure.
Yeah, it sounds a lot better.
Right. So I can see your perspective on like wanting a wider range of knowledge to pull from. And I do see much value in that, because I feel like when there are certain sources of information, say religion or stories of folklore or myth, there are plenty of different sort of nuggets of knowledge to be gleaned from them. There are plenty of things that can be taken from life stories and the experiences of others. However, if I were to say that you can't use religion as a basis, especially with myself being religious, then that would sort of, my point is, there would be no point to religion if you were to assert that no one religion is correct.
Well, who determines which religion is correct?
In all honesty, no one religion can be said to be correct or incorrect. One can assert the evidence that they have for their religion being the true religion. Some religions may have evidence and some may not. Some may have more evidence than others. But it all comes down to what people believe, because, of course, the cornerstone of religion is belief.
Yeah, well, belief is not the same as knowing. And what people cite as evidence is their book. If you're a Christian, then you're going to say, the Bible says this.
Not strictly.
And people say it's the word of God. But I argue that it was written by a man, and man is fallible.
That stems from, there's a bit of knowledge about the Bible that, of course, it was written by man, but it's not in the religion to ignore that fact. It's not a part of Christian doctrine to say it was written by a man, therefore it has this margin of error. It's the fact that the Bible is said to be inspirational, the fact that it was all written by man, but those men were inspired by the Spirit of God.
Yeah, okay, and I get that. The Quran says the same thing. That it says that Muhammad, couldn't read or write, so he could recite the Quran word for word from beginning to end. Therefore, it must be inspired by God. So
I'm more skeptical of Islam, simply because any religion that it stems from a man and himself only being able to interpret or write the text that he puts himself at the center of is a bit questionable. It's like the Book of Mormon, where the Book of Mormon, the man who wrote the Book of Mormon put himself as the prophet, as Muhammad did. While if you go to Christianity, while Christ is the prophet of Christianity, the continuity of the Bible starts long before his birth.
Well, who wrote that stuff before Jesus? And what about the apostles like Paul and them? Like, they put themselves in the center of their stories also, right? What makes this different from Islam?
It was the fact that these men were putting them at the center of their own story within a grander story. If you were to think about it in like the sense that Mormonism starts and ends with the man who wrote it, as does Islam. There is no Islam without Muhammad. Jesus may be the cornerstone of Christianity, but Christianity was a thing before he was born and a thing after he died.
That's not true. Christianity wasn't a thing before Jesus. Jesus was a Jew. And it's also not true about Muhammad, because the story with the Bible talks about creation and everything, all the things before Muhammad. And Muhammad said, he didn't say he was the son of God like Jesus. He said he was a prophet. And Islam also acknowledges Jesus as a prophet, but not the son of God.
My point being not the fact that it wasn't. Sorry, just to make sure that I'm getting my points across. What I'm saying is, I'm skeptical of a person who inserts himself as a prophet. If you like, in the Book of Mormonism, the person who wrote it said, I am the prophet, as Muhammad did. When there were many prophets before Jesus, Jesus was just the culmination of those prophets.
And that and your thought process is fair, but you can also use that thought process towards Christianity. That's why I led you into that, is because you're skeptical of Islam based on, you know, the man writing it and the way the story is anchored around the man. That's, you can have, I have a skepticism of Christianity for the same reasons.
And I would say the difference is, when it comes to Muhammad, and I'm going to refer to him as the man who wrote the Book of Mormon simply because I don't know his actual name. I would say that
James something, I don't know. Go ahead.
The reason that I am Christian, the reason that I believe these things over, say, the principles of Mormonism or the principles of Islam, is the fact that Jesus is the ultimate prophet. But he is the ultimate prophet because of his characteristics. I feel like when it comes to Islam, like, Muhammad wrote himself as the center simply because God spoke to him. He is this chosen one of God. However, Jesus becomes the chosen one through the parables and his teachings. Like, it's it's better to have somebody as your role model when they are your role model because they exemplify good, rather than they are your role model because they told you they are.
Well, who determines that Jesus is the ultimate Messiah, or what was the word you used? Who determines
Prophet.
that? The ultimate prophet. You know, even in the Bible, it was saying that Jesus came for a particular peoples, a certain set of peoples. He was the what was the word you used? The prophet. He was the prophet for a certain group of people. He was like, my people. He says this over and over in the Bible.
But the thing is, the Bible isn't as, the interpretations of the Bible that people have pushed out can be a bit exclusive. Although when Jesus is saying my people, he doesn't specifically mean Jews. It can be interpreted as such. But when it comes to Christianity, when he says my people, he means people who follow me. He doesn't mean Jews, he means Christians.
I agree.
All who choose to follow him all who say, I am of Jesus, become my people, as Jesus refers to.
I agree with that. But I would say that you would have prophets throughout time for different time periods and for different sets of people. You understand what I'm saying? Other Jesuses, if you will.
And see, here's an important thing that I need to mention. In my studies of theology and my studies of apologetics, Christianity does not teach that other religions are wrong. It teaches that they are incomplete. To say that these other religions have their prophets, so you cannot exert like Christianity as the end all be all. Christianity can be seen as the end all be all because Christ says all these people worship good. All these people had a looking and a longing for a prophet and Messiah to save them, a savior. I am the culmination of all of those stories. Those religions were not outright wrong. They were just incomplete, and I am their completion.
So so it's like, that means that like evolution stops at that point. You know, what about having a Jesus?
Why would you make that point?
Because what about having a Jesus for modern day? And Islam is younger than Christianity. And
because I'll be honest with you, Islam is Christian fanfic written by Muhammad, who puts himself at the center. But that's my controversial take for the day.
Well, I mean, I don't completely agree with you, but I was gonna say that Islam is an updated version of Christianity.
I scoff at that.
And if you want to say more complete, I would say that Islam is more complete. than Christianity.
And why would you say that?
Because that's how I feel. It's an updated version of Christianity.
I feel that you can't say that, and forgive me if you hear my chewing, I'm eating a cookie. Um, I can't say that Islam is superior or more complete than, say, Christianity, because it has some major flaws that even modern people should disagree with when you consider its its views on women, outsiders. When it comes to Islam, it doesn't have that same inclusivity that Christianity has. Christianity is, I do not care who you are, where you come from. If you choose to follow me and do good, you shall receive my salvation. Islam is, we are a certain people who act a certain way, and those who do not fall in line are not of us and should be treated as other or lesser than.
Well, we started this conversation about the Garden of Eden and the story of Adam and Eve and the original sin and how that leads to people looking at women as lesser. And you saying
That isn't necessarily true, because you'd have to have those biases of women being lesser to begin with and then improperly use the Bible to confirm them.
well, and that kind of is the same thing that you're saying with Islam. It's kind of like cherry picking parts of Islam and, saying that it has problems, and I'm saying that Christianity also has problems. I'm not saying Islam is perfect. I'm saying that there's problems in both of them. The reason why
The problems that you are stating are from an improper interpretation of the text. However, the problems that I am stating come from Quran are doctrine.
those are also interpretations. So the issue is with the interpretation. That's the reason why anybody can read the Bible and say that, my interpretation is right. No one can say someone else's interpretation is wrong, because who knows what is the proper interpretation. Even when you translate the languages, words have different meanings in different languages, and some stuff is lost in translation. So,
But oftentimes the parable stays the same. If the parable changes, you have lost the meaning of the story. It doesn't matter the words you use as long as you get the message across.
well, that message can be a little bent related to those translations, and people can choose to translate it in ways.
Can you give me an example? Can you give me an example of translations being lost? Because I can give you one about the King James Version.
I specifically can't think of any at the moment, but it's like, I know there's like.
I'll give you one. So in the King James Version, there is one specific word that is removed from the entire Bible that was not removed from previous versions of the Bible. And that is the word tyrant, specifically because King James was a king. Of course, kings get criticism for being tyrannical and having complete control over their kingdom. So in certain stories where they would use the word tyrant, they use the word oppressor or something of that ilk.
Yeah, so that kind of goes with what I'm saying as far as you using the translation in your benefit. So,
but whether I say tyrant or oppressor, the message in the parable stays the same.
But it's bent now. It's bent a bit because people maybe don't. Now maybe they'll be okay with totalitarianism or whatever, just from the little bitty change in that word. And let me ask you this. Why do so many Black people specifically feel like the King James Version is the version of the Bible that's the right version?
Because that's the one we bought in our churches.
That's a circular logic, bro. Why are they?
There's really no logical reason why any version of the Bible is more particularly successful in any community. It's simply the one that we grew up with. There's no logic to it.
That's fair. See, that's a fair and honest answer. So, but I'm arguing that related to translations, related to interpretations, that is the reason why the King James Version is the one. And, slavery, we have to talk about slavery. Black people in the South, given the Bible, not allowed to read any other books. you know, specifically given the King James Version of the Bible, and people using the Bible to justify slavery and to, you
Which
know,
I always find to be ironic, because if those slaves could actually read the entirety of the Bible, they would have realized everything that them white people were saying was horseshit.
well, some of them did, and they led to revolts. In my Black Liberation theology class that I took this past semester, we was talking about how actually in the Bible it was telling you to not be a slave and to fight for your freedom, you know, throughout the Bible, and we gave plenty of examples. What was it? John 18. I don't remember the scriptures. It's a number of scriptures. Like, what's the one where he says, bring sight to the blind.
Believe I lost your connection.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay. The verse where it's saying, it's Jesus speaking. He's like, bring sight to the blind. What is it? Food for the poor, sight for the blind, liberation for the
oppressed.
Something like that. That was one of the verses that we kind of kept going back to in this particular class, to say that, you know, the Bible is actually saying that you should fight for your freedom. But what I'm saying is they used the Bible, they used Christianity to make Black folks feel, you know, that they should be slaves, that this is their rightful place or whatever. Like, this is.
And here's the thing that I always bring up when this argument arises. A perversion of the thing does not denote its purpose. To say, because oftentimes, and I'm not saying that you're saying this, oftentimes people will condemn the religious text and say the Bible is wrong because it was used against people to hold slaves. A perversion of something's use does not make it does not change its use. If I use nuclear energy to power a city or use it to make a bomb, that does not mean that the original tech that I used to power that city was intended to make a bomb, if that makes any sense.
No, I get your argument. I use the argument having to do with a knife. You can use a knife to butter bread, or you can use it to stab somebody in the neck. It's the tool can be used, you know, one way or another in whichever way you wish. And that's
but in this instance, I would describe it as a not a butter knife, a bread knife, because a bread knife can be used to cut, but a bread knife was made to cut bread.
Right. So, but look, why would Black people hold on to a religion that was forced upon them to help keep them enslaved? That was the point. That was the purpose. That's how the tool was used.
See, you're condemning the knowledge found in a religion and in a biblical text by its abuses. That's like saying if Islam were to be used to hold slaves now, that suddenly Islam would become invalid in your eyes.
I'm saying people were forced to have this religion. They were whipped. They were beaten. It happened with Islam. It was the same thing happened with Islam. Islam spread through the sword too. So,
and I believe you're missing a point here, because you're saying, why would people hold on to a religion that was forced upon them? Yes, it was forced upon them, but that was only their initial contact with the religion. Because if you remember, especially through the Enlightenment era of Christianity and the branching off, because oftentimes religions go through schisms, and Christianity did as well. When the Enlightenment era came in and the ideas that you could have a personal relationship with God separate from a church came in, then we had people like Martin Luther that changed this religion that was used to enslave and then used it to liberate. So you're saying, why would we hold on to a religion that was used to enslave us? That was our initial contact. And through our contact, we evolved to realize its actual value.
No, whenever they colonize, whenever they conquer, they always bring the Bible. And it's always those missionaries that go out first. The missionaries come and then the army comes.
You're not addressing my point. My point is, it can be used as a knife, and it can be used to enslave and coerce. But over time, people's understanding of that religion and the actual words within the text grows, and then their relationship to said text and to said religion changes. So you're asking, why would you hold on to something that was used to enslave you? Because it was initially used to enslave you, and then it was used to liberate you.
Okay. I mean, I get your argument. I just feel like, what about the previous religions that you had before you were whipped and beaten into this new religion? And then you look back, you look down on those previous religions. Now you call them heathens or heathen religions or paganism or whatever. And this is what you were naturally, this is how your worship was for thousands of years until you were beaten into this, this state-sanctioned religion.
I would like to bring up a specific point around paganism and Christianity. This is something that I was specifically taught as a part of my apologetics classes, where when you talk about paganism and Christianity, it's one of those things that is not often understood, because I will outright admit that Christianity is a beautiful religion that is taught extremely poorly. Many of the pastors and preachers who espouse Christianity to a large amount of people have a very fleeting grasp of understanding the concepts that it actually espouses. Because one of the things that I was taught, that I learned in college, that I had never learned in a church, was that paganism was the foundation to Christianity. As I said, the previous religions that humanity held were not incorrect, but incomplete.
Okay. But the issues, one of the major issues I have with our current form of Christianity is related to Constantine making it a state-sanctioned religion, where he incorporated previous beliefs, maybe you want to call them pagan, to appease larger groups of people, and made it the state-sanctioned religion to keep himself in power, because he felt that, we can't beat these Christians, so we can't beat them, join them. But at the same time, we need to appease the pagans.
Which I find ironic, because that was actually prophesied in the Bible before it happened.
Yeah. What scripture is that?
It's saying one of the things that Jesus had to do and this is the reason that Jews don't believe that Jesus was the actual Messiah, and that they're still waiting for their actual Messiah, is to say that the Messiah was supposed to conquer the Roman Empire. And they're saying Jesus never conquered the Roman Empire, but the Roman Empire became Christians. That counts.
That's interpretation, and that's perspective, and to
have your name be worn by the enemies you meant to conquer as their state-sanctioned religion is conquering, is it not?
I can go with that. I can go with that. I'm okay with that. There's a lot, though. There's a lot related to this. What about the cross and related to death, and the image of two phalluses as opposed to the womb and the phallus, and the idea, this is the biggest one that I have a problem with. I was a little kid, and I would ask the question about the Holy Trilogy and try to get that explained, Holy Trinity, and get people to explain that to me. And I'm like, this doesn't make any damn sense at all. Like,
see, I will be honest with you. I was explained the Holy Trinity, and it took several weeks to comprehend, because it's something that does not make sense until you are taught how it works. It's like a system of math.
Like, is Jesus God, or is God God, or it's like the Son, the God, the Holy Ghost? Like, come on, bro.
Here's the thing. I can explain it to you. All you have to do is ask.
Go ahead. Explain the trilogy.
So the Holy Trinity is one God, three persons. It's not the idea that like God is God, Jesus is God, the Holy Spirit is God. All three are God. All three are an expression of God. Think of Jesus as the heart, the Father as the brains, and the Spirit as the arms. One being, three separate parts. But I have to be very careful about that because if the way you describe it can sort of go into a bunch of heresies. But it's one God, three persons.
That sounds like nonsense to me, bro. And it also goes back
It takes
to
a while to understand.
I understand it as nonsense because it's leaving out the woman. Okay, where's the woman
Why
fit
does
in this?
why do you have to bring gender politics into it? Women don't have to be included in everything.
Okay, well then that's patriarchy. That's making women lesser. That's saying that they don't matter.
See,
That they
that's
don't.
once again you extrapolating something from something that was not there. To exclude women does not mean that women A needed to be there in the first place, that it was about gender, or B that they are any parts lesser.
It does make it. You
That is
subconsciously
your
come.
interpretation of the information, but there is no specific part that says women are lesser because they are not included in the Trinity. So anything else would be an interpretation.
It's a subconscious extrapolation. Let me tell you what I think the Holy
It's a
Trinity is.
bias. A subconscious extrapolation is a bias.
The holy. Let me tell you my definition of the Holy Trinity: man, woman, child, life forever.
I would say those are expressions of God, but not things to be worshipped.
I mean, what greater thing to worship other than the advancement of life, the continuation of life?
Those are things that stem from God. But to say that you should worship them in themselves is to make a God of yourself. That is one of the few things that we are taught to watch out for. Making a God of yourself and worshiping yourself can lead to you justifying your own actions. If you are God, all you do is correct.
Wait. In the Bible, Jesus said, you will do great things. How does he say it? You will do things greater than me. Something like that.
Yes, but that does not mean make a God of yourself. There's a difference between do good things beyond me and advance upon my message and worship yourselves. Those are two separate things.
Yeah, but okay. But if Jesus was a man, a human being that walked on the earth, and he's the Son of God, or he is God, that is making the heresy that you're talking about. You're saying that Jesus was a heretic.
No, that's not a heresy. A heresy is a very specific thing. It's to deviate from the doctrine in a way that actually, a way that deviates from the doctrine that actually taints what the original doctrine said. So if I were to say Jesus is not the Son of God, that is a heresy. It's not a contradiction or what you would believe to be a contradiction. It is to say something the Bible explicitly states is not true.
But the Bible also says that man was created in God's image.
Correct.
So the way I look at it is the universe is God. So all together, all of us are expressions of God. All of nature is expressions of God. The universe,
even evil,
the planets. Exactly.
But that's the thing. Here's the thing. If you were to say, and this is why I'm very cautious to speak about such things, because if you were to say the universe, all things are an expression of God, that means you could turn evil into a religious practice. Because if all things are an expression of God, whatever I so choose to do in the moment is just.
Does it not say in the Bible, all things come from me, or something like that?
All good things come from me.
So the yin and the yang is about balance, creation and destruction. When we say, when good things happen in our life, we say it was God. When a tornado comes, an earthquake, hurricane, we say it was God, right? Do these
Correct.
things not bring destruction and death? Would some people consider that as evil?
You can't call it hurricane evil. It's just an expression of nature.
Okay, my point is that, you know, people
A hurricane
say
carries no malice.
God is good all the time. How could that be if, you know, murders happen, things happen? They talk about the exact expression of the devil or Satan or whatever. They say that Satan was an angel, right? Say he was a
Correct.
fallen angel. So he was one of God's right hand men, right? Top dog.
Yes.
So if God is controller of all things, why come God allows these horrible things to happen in the world?
See, that's the thing. When you're getting into the questions of why does evil exist if God is all good, evil stems from us. God, in his love, gave us the ability to choose things away from him. So if we choose to stray from what is good, what is moral, if we choose to be dishonorable in place of honor, if we choose to be lustful in place of love, that is our choice. It is because God loves us so that he gives us the choice to say no, because no one that truly loves you will dominate you heart and soul.
We don't have any control over nature. We don't have control over this like natural happenings. You get what I'm saying? A building falls down on someone and they die. Was that because man did something wrong?
If you believe in original sin, yes.
Um
God gave us a world away from him because we chose to stray. If we chose to walk away from God, and so God gave us a world without him to show us why he is valuable.
So what if that person was a devout Christian or whatever? They did everything
Then
right in their life, and the building fell on them. It's a random.
they go to heaven.
brick.
They are rewarded. You have to realize, if you are a devout Christian and you are killed suddenly, that is, no, sorry. To believe in God, to be given his love, and to live in him is a gift. So death is not a punishment, but a reward. Because at your moment of death, you will be rewarded and reunited with him. There is no negative to that. That's the ultimate goal.
In our Black liberation theology class, we were focusing on how in the Bible it was saying that you should fight for things on this side of the grave. And it does mention this over and over in the Bible about like kingdom of heaven. I think that's the term. And that's not talking about after death. That's talking about in this world. There's no misinterpretation with that. Because
Yes, we are called to create heaven on earth so that we will one day be reunited with it. You live as if you are in Christ on earth so that when you die, you are in Christ in heaven.
One of the problems I really have with that is that no one knows what happens when you die. How can you be confident that there is a heaven or a hell? Just because it's written in the Bible.
You're not going to like this frame. Blessed be he who has not seen and yet believes.
Okay, I mean, that faith thing, that belief thing is one thing, but knowledge and knowing is another. Like, I can't do that. I can't live in that way. So what I think results from that way of thinking is poor people tend to be very religious, okay? And people with money tend to not be so religious, And it's like these people are getting their heaven in this life, and the poor folks are waiting for their gold streets after they die. And there's no
that is interpretation, because the Bible preaches you can create a heaven on earth by living in God. If you are not living in God, you are living in something that is not divine, is not heavenly. So you're saying these people are enjoying themselves, but what they are enjoying is the fallen nature of man, something that can never live up to the glory of our true state. So when you say these people are enjoying themselves on earth, they are, by their own limited understanding, they have no sense of enjoyment that they could truly feel when they are connected to God again.
I can roll with
Well,
you.
look,
Roll
I'm
with you
gonna
now.
I'm gonna mention this too. You know, Vanderbilts, the Rockefellers, the Ponds, the Roosevelts, Fords, Whitneys. All of these are very, very well-known, mostly Protestant families. They're the richest ones in the world, yet they're all, you know, recognized religion. They're all people of faith.
Yeah, I can
What
roll.
I'm seeing now actually is what's coming more from the liberal and left side of politics, more of a disagreement with God and things like that, while the right side of politics tends to try to be throwing religion and God into the mix and things like this, which, you know, it's a mix. The less you believe in government and everything, religion, all that around you, the more easily you become led and swayed by just whatever sounds good at the time.
Okay, you're
Which
controlled. And,
I would
and,
like to
and
add on to that, where I like his point, and he's expounding upon what I was thinking, where he's saying that if you have a solid group of morals to stand behind, if you have a solid basis, if you have a righteous moral good to look up to, you are less easy to lie to and less easy to sway and be placated by things that should not placate you.
well, I'll
And
disagree
mind
with that.
you, a quick sidebar, I also have to say is this is not saying that people that do not have faith or people who are atheists are immoral people or bad people or anything like that. You cannot believe and still have the personal choice to be a good person.
Right. I 100% agree with that. And so, but the point that you just made, Ewan, I disagree with, because if you have a person who thinks that their religion is the right one and everyone else's is wrong, then that can lead you to easily being manipulated. You know, there's a quote that says fascism will come to America and it'll be wrapped in a flag carrying the Bible.
But that goes back to what we were saying, where something's original purpose is not determined by its use.
I mean,
no, that's an awesome statement right there, and it's in just that small little snippet, because that covers so many things that we talk about on here. The original purpose is not necessarily the use. That can cover gun control. That can cover freedom of choice. It covers a whole lot of things right there. A lot of the things we talk about are the way the laws and stuff have been made in a way, but they're not enforced in the spirit that they were made. And by doing it that way, we have come to this point where you have bad people getting off because the letter of the law is being used. Why people literally accept their punishment when the spirit, and it's understood the spirit of the law, you know, and it's not enforced evenly, and that's creating more innocent people to go to jail, and more, and you know, the good lawyer is the winner,
right?
And where do we put the newest, least experienced lawyers?
As a freaking court-appointed,
as court-appointed defense, and all they learn is how to get beat, how not to really stand up, because all of these tricks and things that the more experienced lawyers know, they're having to learn. And it's not tricks in the law and things like that. It needs to go, is this person going to offend again? Is this person a threat to the public? You know, but again, spirit and letter of the law are two things.
Right. So I agree with you on that. That's a good point. Like, and what we were saying about a tool can be used for good or for bad or whatever, depending on your perspective. So, but
But
you
you
know,
have to remember the original uses of that tool. If I have a tire iron that is used to remove nuts and bolts from a tire, if I use it to kill somebody, that does not mean tire irons are murder weapons.
well, in that instance, when you used it as a murder weapon, it is.
But its original purpose is to be a tool used to remove nuts and bolts. That is what it is used for. That is what it's designed for. Any abuses of that use does not give it. It does not change what its original use was.
Better example, dynamite. Dynamite was originally invented by Nobel to help clear lands for railroad, to get through mountains and to do stuff like that. But dynamite is now, for many years, is the basis of most of our weapons of war. That is why he said if he knew what his invention was going to become, he would have never, someone else would have invented it, but he wouldn't have. And that's
Yeah.
why he took all of his fortune and set up the Nobel Foundation, was to help recognize people and things that bring good to society.
Which I think is a great story because I believe it is so tragic. The only reason that he ever got to sort of see what his invention, the harm it had caused, is because I believe a funeral was held for him before he had actually died, and people had came and spoke about what they thought of him, and it was all he was this merchant of death. He was this destroyer because he created dynamite, and then that sort of snapped him out of his thought process, and he really got to see what people thought of him.
I want to go back to the law thing. Y'all ever saw the movie Devil's Advocate?
I can't say I have.
Oh, it was
Keanu
an
Reeves.
obituary. It was an obituary for Nobel's brother, but all the things were attributed to the inventor, Nobel. And he saw in that obituary what people were saying about him.
Yeah,
Thank you for correcting it.
Yeah.
No,
I think I remember
that's not
that.
a correction. I do producer here. I try to Google things real quick to keep us like that.
Yeah, I love that. That's great. So it's great for the audience. Devil's Advocate. Keanu Reeves. It was about a lawyer he was arrogant and he just wanted to win. And it didn't matter if the person was guilty. He was a defense attorney. And it didn't matter if the person was guilty. He just wanted to win. And it was like a way for the devil to get in and control this guy, right? So like the devil used his pride and his ego to manipulate him. And damn it, I'm losing my point here. Fuck, what am I trying to say?
He was using his pride.
Yeah, he was using his pride to, we were talking about what's, good and evil or whatever, using a tool, and we were talking about the law and the essence of the law being lost, in its usage. And that is an example of it. And it's like, the person who has the most money can buy the best attorney. That attorney is, unscrupulous and don't have any moral values, and can work to get this person off, even knowing that the person was guilty, because they're going to get that check. They're getting paid. They just, and it's like in our society, you're looked up to if you make a lot of money. Like you're successful in your career or whatever. You make a lot of money, you're a successful person, and you're put on a pedestal, and that becomes moral, if you will. Like people look at you as a good person. You're an upstanding citizen. You're a good person, even if you do this is kind of horrible things to make your money, you can make amends with your philanthropy or whatever.
Tow truck drivers.
Or you can go to, your Catholic church and do Hail Marys. You know what I'm saying? It's like, where do we get to the point where we, religion gives you an excuse to do horrible things, and you can just ask for atonement, you can ask for forgiveness, and then go back out there and do those same things again. Like,
That is not true. That is a misinterpretation of the text. It does not say that you can just ask for forgiveness and you are forgiven. You have to be genuinely sorry when you repent. Repenting means nothing if you are not sorry for what you did and don't have plans to change.
Yeah, well, I mean, in practicality, this is what happens, is what I'm saying. I'm not saying what you're saying is wrong.
No,
I'm
yeah.
saying in
It's
reality,
like the belief that if you starve yourself for 24 hours once a year, all your sins are cleansed. Yeah, that's, again, like he was saying, that is a misinterpretation that people take away, because active repentance is necessary for salvation. You have to be, no, I'm trying to be better. I don't want to be bad. If you're not trying to be better, then you are literally, then that would technically fall under sloth. You're being lazy. You're not trying. You're not being truthful.
yeah. So if you're a lawyer who gets people off for murders that they committed, then where does that leave you? Where are you at?
Okay, here's the thing you got to understand legally, though. He is legally bound to defend a target to the best of their ability. That is one thing that I've found several defense lawyers having a problem with and get out of defense lawyering for, because they have to find loopholes, things in the law where they have to defend these people that they know are guilty, or they take the case on knowing that they're guilty, but knowing that they can get off of it. Those are the ones that I dislike.
Yeah, it'll be a technicality, like they didn't get Mirandized or something.
Yeah, if the glove doesn't fit,
type of deal. Because I think the OJ case is a good example, because you did have people who they wanted to make sure that OJ, went down, and they were doing shady things, and that's how he got off.
Truthfully, I don't think he did it, but I think it was done because of him.
I don't know. It's a lot of evidence.
It's got a lot to do with the Colombians, the drugs, and the guy that got his got cut open. They Colombian necktied him, meaning he was going to talk. So it's about the drugs and stuff that he was involved with directly, or someone from him, because they made sure that it was tied to him no matter what.
Wait, are you saying it was the specific act of the Colombian necktie, or are you using that as a euphemism?
He's saying that's the reason.
No, the specific act. If you look at the photos of it, the blur outs and stuff, you can tell that the guy was given a Colombian necktie.
Yeah. Okay. Just making sure.
Yeah, Cato, I think it was, or whatever, the guy that was sleeping with his wife at the time. Yeah, you could. So I'm thinking that it was done for something that was going on with all of that. But yeah, it's because of him. He's all tied up in it. But I personally don't think he was the man that was holding the knife.
Let's go back to religion. I want to ask you. I want to ask you, Ewan, about morality. So, who determines what's good and bad? What's good and evil? You have in nature, right? You have a gazelle, and they're running through the savannah, and the cheetah catches the gazelle and eats the gazelle. The gazelle doesn't make it home to feed its babies or whatever. It got little babies at home, and they're gonna die because they don't get the suckle on their mother because they got ate. The mom got ate by the cheetah. And the flip side, let's say the gazelle gets away, and the cheetah is starving. He just expended the last energy that he had to try to catch the gazelle, and he failed. And it's a she. She doesn't make it home to suckle, to feed her cubs or whatever, and her cubs die. Depending on your perspective, one way of looking at it, like I think most people would see the gazelle getting ate as horrible, and not as many people would see it as the gazelle getting ate as horrible. I think most people would agree, would feel that that's horrible, or that's bad, or that's evil or something. And not many people would look at it as the gazelle getting away as horrible and evil. Do you get what I'm saying? Who determines where the morality lies?
You see, I would feel that's a bad example simply because there is no morality in nature. Animals are, at least by the Christian doctrine, blameless because evil and good comes with understanding. If an animal does all it does purely by instinct, it eats because it needs to eat, it runs because it's in danger. It has no understanding of suffering, of malice. We are not blameless because we understand these things. There is no, oh, I chose to do this because it was my instinct. No, you understand and you made a choice to cause harm to another person, and therefore you have committed an evil act. So in that, when you're saying what determines...
Are we not a part of the animal kingdom? Vegans would feel
religiously we are separated from the animal kingdom.
From the time that we became civilization, and we started to gather together beyond our immediate families and things like that, we were no longer just animals.
We are something beyond animals.
I don't agree with that, but
no, we are animals biologically, basically. Yes, we have instincts rooted into us from back in the animal days. But civilization and our minds set us apart, give us a free will and a choice that animals could never even possibly conceive of.
There's something that I like to quote when it comes to the Greek philosopher Socrates, when he says to follow your instincts and your own base desires is to live as an animal and not live up to what you are.
I like that because I feel like you're supposed to embrace your higher self and not your lower self. But
why is it that you embrace a Greek philosophy, but you have a problem with that same philosophy being espoused when it comes to a religion?
Let me explain. First off, I don't feel that we are separate. We're a part of a unit that works all together, an ecosystem. It's not, we're of the earth. We're of the universe. We're not above it. And what I was going to say was vegans would say that when we eat meat, that's immoral.
And they would be wrong because those people suffer from not genetic defects. Those people suffer from malnutrition and their bodies breaking down because they aren't intaking the actual nutrients that they need because their bodies were designed to eat meat. Those people are defying nature.
But the animals are sentient beings. They deserve to have life too, right?
Define sentience.
Going back to what you were saying about animals not being aware, it's like this idea that, intelligence is measured by humans and what we determine to be intelligent. Like we're the most intelligent sentient beings on the planet. And, there's no other animals. This is what I'm saying. I don't agree with that at all. I think there's animals out there that's more intelligent than us. It's
There's
just
a
that
pretty strong belief that dolphins are smarter than we are.
among many others, octopus many others. Uh, but from our perspective, I was reading the Bible earlier today at work, and it said that God created man to have dominion over all of the animals and plants and whatever. And I just have a problem with that idea that
Why is it? Because you're considering the animal's feelings about being dominated?
My problem is that we have this centric view that we're more intelligent, that we're more important than the rest of nature.
Because we are outright.
How do we come to that determination? If the insects,
we have the ability to control the entire earth, not just in the sense that we can spread our influence. If we choose that an animal lives or dies, it is so. A dolphin cannot choose to make elephants extinct. We can. We have the ability to safeguard the planet as much as we have the ability to destroy it. No other animal has such capability and responsibility. So to say that we are above them, I believe that is correct.
Responsibility is perspective, but you have microorganisms out there that has caused. I was just watching a video just the other day where they were talking about these
microorganisms have no brain.
How do we, if they don't have the tissue that we call a brain, doesn't mean that they can't think. Let me get through this.
That's exactly what it thinks. If thoughts are electrical impulses firing between neurons, anything that can't do that is incapable of thought.
So your mind exists within your brain? Is that what you're saying? Let me say this. Absolutely not. Wait, but listen, if there's a fungus, y'all know the Last of Us show where talk about the cordyceps and how they
great show, by the way,
how they can ants are one of the creatures that this particular fungus can infect, and it can animate that animal after it is no longer alive, and it uses it to spread its spores, right, to procreate this fungus. There's other cordyceps, there's different strains, I can't find the right word for them, and there's frogs that this type of fungus attacks also. This fungus has made these particular frogs extinct. Multiple different species of frogs no longer here as a result of this one fungus that I'm talking about. Okay, you just said that humans have the capability of eradicating a creature or whatever, and that's an example of our dominance on the earth. Okay, what about plague? We mentioned when we was talking earlier, we were talking about.
Is your point that a virus or some sort of pathogen can eradicate us, therefore it has more dominance over us?
That you can argue that. That is what I
would say no, because there is no singular pathogen that can kill everyone on Earth. Simply because, although it would suck for the vast majority of people, there will be people who are immune or resistant to said pathogen. They will outlive us and they will regrow. It's the idea, like, we can outright choose to kill an animal. Nothing can outright choose to kill us because we are that much more resilient.
You can't be confident with that. You can't be sure about that.
Actually, they estimate that the absolute worst positive pathogen ever will kill no more than 98% of humanity.
and 2% will live.
That's an estimation.
Thanos on crack.
That's an
No,
estimation.
because no matter how strong or what the virus, there will always end up being people who mutate a genetic mutation that will become immune or resistant to it.
It takes time for that to happen over generations.
No,
Well,
they
that's
happen
why
over
pathogens-
generations.
That's why these viruses work the way they do. That's why no virus literally comes in, pops up, burns out within a few hours and stuff like that. They all take several days to take time to incubate. They take time to germinate. They take time to get to where they spread, because the idea is not to consume the host. That's not what they do, because that's not the kind of creature they are. Their entire idea is to propagate and spread. And sometimes to spread from one person to another, they get into the RNA, DNA stuff kicking, and they got to change a little bit, which is where you start getting variations of the virus.
Right. So they can procreate and continue to do their thing.
And
So, but
as viruses go and they get stronger, they don't get more deadly. They get less deadly. They take longer to germinate, so they're not noticed. They take longer to get to the state of spreading. They take longer to spread and catch to others. They actually get weaker and weaker and weaker over time. Because the
I would
idea
also
is
like to
not
add
to
an
kill,
example.
it's to live. Please.
I would like to add an example. One of the deadliest pathogens we have ever known, rabies, that has a almost 100% mortality rate, still has people who have survived it. A 100% mortality rate virus has had case examples of people who have caught the virus and gone on to live their lives.
Yeah, 99.9 mortality rate.
The point of what I'm trying to say is that
I did not know that.
Our perspective is what leads us to the conclusion that we are superior or whatever.
And what is, if we have so many examples to prove our perception correct, what is the actual value in challenging that?
Because earlier we was talking about confirmation bias. When you do research to support your predetermined conclusions or predetermined views, that is what we're doing when it comes
but
to
it's not a
things.
confirmation bias. It's not a confirmation bias. It's more so a law of nature. It's not something that we have this conclusion that we are looking to prove. We've seen it play out time and time again. How many times do I have to add 2 + 2 together and get the answer 4 for the answer to just be 4?
Bruh, I'm an anthropologist. I study the evolution of man. Humans haven't even been on the planet that long compared to many other, especially, that's why I brought up microorganisms.
And yet we've done so much more. I would counter a point by saying we haven't been here, but for a blink of an eye of this planet's existence, and we have changed it beyond any other species that has ever existed in the billions of years that the planet has been around.
And that is not true. Absolutely not true.
I dare you to name one species that has done as much as we have.
Moss.
Can you expound?
The first.
He's talking about the phylo something or another, the large fungus thing that they found in Oregon that actually is an entity that's almost, I think, 1,800 square miles or something like that, or 180 square miles, and it's all one large organism.
There's many examples. You have,
but it doesn't think, it doesn't feel. I mean, unless you actually consider plants thinking and feeling, which I can bring up proof that they actually do think and feel, that they react to someone that comes in and yells at them, or someone that comes in and tears up their leaves, that they react and I can prove that too.
They move, they communicate. It's just
okay, vegan. So why is it more moral to kill plants than animals?
I don't subscribe to that point of view. I was just using that as an example.
I just use it to joke with.
But they do move and they do communicate. So And the first terrestrial plants that came out of the water, they changed the earth dramatically and put a huge amount of oxygen in the atmosphere, which caused an extinction event that killed off, like, I don't know, 80% of the animals on the planet. And it changed the atmosphere forever. Okay. These plants is what led to us even being able to be here. Okay. So when you want to make a comparison saying that humans have changed the planet more than any other creature, I can name other creatures that have done more. Okay. This is what I'm saying.
One point that I'd like to add. When I said that, I didn't mean like effect in like, what I meant was like technological process, because those things may have changed the planet, but they didn't have any will. They didn't have any mind. They didn't do it for a reason. It was something that occurred. It was as a hurricane is. A hurricane doesn't think. Yeah. A hurricane doesn't think. It comes in and it demolishes a city because it's a force of nature. It has no mind. We have a mind and a will, and we act upon that mind and will to change the planet. So we are superior because we can actually think about what we're doing.
Because of our perspective of thinking that way is why we come to that conclusion, which is the confirmation bias, is what I'm talking about. You know, it is
not all that wrong to be superior. There's no reason to believe that being superior is immoral. We just are to other animals. I find no guilt in admitting that.
I'm not saying it's immoral. I'm saying it's wrong. I'm saying that we fit in the cycle. We fit in the system. We're not above the system.
No, as the wheel turns, we are the apex of the curvature right now. There may be some other species or one that descends from ours that becomes the apex, but right now we are the apex. See, we're talking pyramid, you're talking circle. Okay, the circle, the revolution, we are the top of it right now. I mean, that's all it is. At one time it was dinosaurs. You know, at one time it was Neanderthals. I mean, it's just, it's part of a cycle. But like I said, as that cycle goes, we are the apex, both as predators and as builders.
I think that the way we got on this conversation because we were talking about religion and how one religion is greater than another one is based on a confirmation bias of a perspective. Morality is based on a confirmation bias and a perspective.
And like I said, those are dangerous thoughts, because if you start to think of morality as a bias, then if you were to say change said bias, you can justify just about anything.
Good. God is the devil.
That is heresy.
There goes my heresy. Two sides of the same coin. The yin and the yang.
No, well, this is where we start getting into Zoroastrianism, which is where the Abrahamic religions came from. I mean, you've got the high, you've got the low, you've got the light, you've got the dark. It's the monotheological, and there is really only one, but the one is both good and evil. It is all, and that was carried on to separating the good and evil by using a thrown down, but still the evil thrown down is lesser than the high God. It's lesser than the light.
And I can roll with that. I like that. That's better than this perspective of God is good all the time.
He is.
Because the Bible says so.
Can you think of an example of God being bad?
I mean, I was just giving examples of things happening in nature, you know?
And like I said, those things come from us, not from God. You know how the Bible actually defines evil?
Shoot.
The Bible defines evil as anything outside of God. Anything that is in God is good. Anything that is outside of him is evil. Evil is not a thing, just the absence of God.
Well, how can there be an absence of God if God is all things? It's like the idea of supernatural. When people say something is supernatural, I'm like, I don't believe in supernatural. There's no such thing. It's something that we don't understand. We call it supernatural. You know, everything exists in the universe, exists naturally. It's been there, is there,
Yeah,
will
I
be
believe
there
you're
forever.
describing a phenomenon rather
And
than something that is supernatural.
Here we go with Ashton C. Clarke's statement too. Anything that is not any technology that is so advanced as it is unexplainable is magic.
Right.
That's not the exact quote, but basically,
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
understand.
any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic.
Thank you.
So this is what I'm trying to say is that damn it, I lost my point. Freaking supernatural. There's no such thing as supernatural.
And see, here's where I say
there's no such thing as something that's outside of God.
See, here's the thing where I feel like you're getting a little bit twisted. What you described was more of a phenomena than supernatural. Supernatural is like we understand, it sort of comes from spirituality and religion, where there are things that are physical and things that are non-physical that can only be observed through, say, faith or the spirit of God or spirituality. What you described was a phenomena, something that we don't yet understand that is scientifically based.
What about the Immaculate Conception? Explain the Immaculate Conception. Would that not be supernatural?
Yes.
How about also that a lot of women were considered virgins until they had a male child in that region of at the time as well?
Well, see, that goes with my argument that it wasn't supernatural. It was all an interpretation. For a child to be born, you're gonna have to have sex in some way or another. A sperm and an egg has to come
But that's
together.
differing from your point. Your point was there are things that no. Your point was there are things that we do not understand yet that are scientifically based. If you're saying that that was something that's a misinterpretation of the original story, it was supernatural, as it said, because it's something that was not scientifically based that occurred.
No, the way it's presented, the Immaculate Conception, just that phrase alone, Immaculate Conception, is something that's supernatural, something that happens outside of nature. God inseminated this woman and she gave birth to a child. There was no sex involved.
Now, Immaculate Conception is an idea that is based off of the statement of virgin birth.
Exactly. I mean, I get what you're saying, Doc, and I agree with you that you know.
So so we have just walked the science that explains what is considered by some a supernatural event.
Well, that wouldn't be science. That would be the difference between times and how people look at
cultural interpretation of which the Bible has been interpreted into multiple languages, and worse, into one language, into another, which all of that. Lots have been cut out. Again, here we get back to we talk about the 66, 78, or 88 books in the Bible, depending upon which religion, Christian Orthodox religion you follow.
And we mentioned that at the beginning of the show, and I meant to mention about the Dead Sea Scrolls or whatever, and how particular, it's only certain specific people that can be involved in transcribing these scrolls because they're so concerned with the interpretations of those things, and some of the letters are missing or whatever, and then they can just kind of say, the letter is this when it may not be that because the damage on the document or whatever. But my argument with the Immaculate Conception, the perception of it, the way that it's presented is that God inseminated the Virgin Mary, who gave birth to Jesus with no sex. That would be supernatural. So what other person do they have that they say was born in that way? And that's what separates Jesus from the rest of the people that have walked the planet. That's what makes him special. You get what I'm saying? But I'm saying that I don't believe
I
in
would like you to
supernatural.
pause. I would like you to pause and distill your original point, because I feel like you just gave an explanation to a point that has been lost.
I'm trying to explain the point because we were talking about supernatural. I don't believe in supernatural, and I don't believe in anything outside of God. How we got to this is where you were saying that evil is what's outside of God. And I'm saying that nothing is outside of God. And I went to the point of supernatural because that's where people, say, things are away from God because it's supernatural. And then we said that it's supernatural because we don't really understand it, but
Okay.
it still falls within nature. But immaculate conception doesn't fall within nature
No,
because there's no way somebody can be born without having sex.
No, it's not about sex. It's about sin. The Immaculate Conception is based on what do I want to say? I want to say Luke somewhere. And when Gabriel meets Gabriel meets Mary, he says something like as being full of grace. And Catholic specifically, if is basically, it's supposed to mean that Mary had no sin on her soul, not necessarily that she had been impregnated by God, but she was in a state of no sin and able to receive God.
And that's fair. I can go with that. And that explains the cultural differences with time and how people look at things and people's perspectives. But what I'm saying is the interpretation of that scripture is that, Jesus is better than everybody else. He's literally the Son of God. God impregnated Mary and made
There is
Jesus.
no specific mention of Immaculate Conception in the Bible. That is a catechism that has come from the Catholic, mostly the Catholic, but several of the other Orthodox churches as well. And of course, was translated by King Henry into the New, which was been carried by the Protestants. And the further it goes, the further they walk away. That's what I'm saying. All the translations, the further they walk away from the meanings and use, like I said, the Immaculate Conception meant she conceived, though, and she was without sin. Mm-hmm. Sin does not necessarily mean sex, because she was married, therefore sex would not have been a sin.
Well, in the Bible, there's no husband. Joseph wasn't the husband. Not in the story in the Bible. Clear that up, Ewan. I know you know this that passage. Joseph, he was there, but he wasn't her husband.
I'm pretty sure he was.
I always thought so.
I wish somebody could pull that.
You'll see.
Pull that verse up. Anyways, regardless.
First century Jewish man of Nazareth who, according to the canonical Gospels, was married to Mary, the mother of Jesus, and he was the legal father of Jesus.
Okay. You pulled it up. The one of the differences between Islam and Christianity is where Islam sees Jesus as a prophet, but Islam doesn't recognize Jesus as the Son of God. Islam doesn't recognize the idea of a supernatural birth or the Immaculate Conception. So, and then that goes in with what I was saying earlier about Islam being an updated version of Christianity.
Yeah. You call them updated because they don't believe in miracles? You believe that a religion is somehow more valid because it takes away mysticism from religion.
Saying it's updated does not say it's more valid. Okay, I don't subscribe to any of these religions, and that's how we get into this. That's the reason why I'm making these arguments. And you just said miracle. So a miracle is something that is supernatural, would you not say?
Yes,
So you said evil is what is outside of God.
correct.
And I said that there is no outside of God. There is no supernatural. And supernatural is just something that we don't understand yet. So,
That
like
point is a little bit muddled.
the all of the different miracles, quote unquote, that Jesus did can be explained, you know, you know, a lot of the stories I don't completely like. I'm trying to find a better right way to say this, but a lot of the stories I don't necessarily believe. A lot of this stuff isn't supposed to be taken literally. I think it's like
There are
parables and
parts
stuff.
of the Bible that are not meant to be taken literally.
So, but
Oh God, thank you for saying that.
so, so the idea of a miracle and the idea of supernatural and the idea of evil being outside of what God is. And I'm saying God is everything. And the earlier, the idea of uh, God and the devil being the same.
You
God is
see,
the devil.
there's the thing. That's the point that I'm trying to distill. That's what I disagree with when you say God is everything. Where I'm like, yes, God created everything, but all that is outside of him is against his will. God has a specific will for us to follow. And when we don't follow that will, we are acting outside of God. Even if it's within his ability to give us that free will, we're still acting out, if that makes any sense.
Well, then why would God give us this ability to
Because he
do?
loves us. You can't control or dominate somebody you love wholeheartedly. Love is not, I control you. You do as I say forever or else. It is, I give you the choice to do as you want, but I want to expand my love and I hope you see that and return that love to me. That's what love is. And I truly feel like the core of Christianity is the love that God feels for us is something that we should return to him. And our love means nothing if it's coerced. God wants people to love him, and you can't love somebody you're forced to love.
I love that's beautiful. What you just said, really beautiful. I have to say that. So, but when bad things happen, why don't God step in? Why do people pray to God and ask for things?
Because it helps you attract. Because it's really like God is a byproduct of something that we created. As far as I'm concerned, I'm just going to throw that out there. We created God, not the other way around. Because we are part of a universal, you know, whether you say multiverse, universe, or however you want to look at it, we're the minute pieces of this big thing that we call God or the universe. And I would just say that, and I know some people are gonna be like, oh, blasphemy, whatever, but I'm just gonna just put it out there. I mean, we exist just because we do, and not one thing created or made us exist. I mainly jumped on here because I heard the conversation about the Immaculate Conception and was just going to add to that. But, um, but I think we go to try to make things way deeper than what it really is. Science is what it is. We can, study all these different things and break it down into little pieces if we're willing to take a lot of the spookism out of most of our conversations. Um, but when you know, like I said, I got on here mostly just to really express the Immaculate Conception so that people can maybe grasp the idea that it's immaculate because it was precise, something that two people cared enough about the life they were bringing into the world that, and they like, we need more doctors, we need more something special, a specialized thing. And from the conception. They had an idea, an ideology, idea of what that child should be, or what they would focus the energy into it being. So they took the proper time. They calculated the you know the stars and the planets alignment with what comes best out of that system, out of that constellation, and they specifically gave birth on this day because this was gonna bring that type of energy that they were looking for, the best chance of that energy coming into the world.
I like that line of thinking right there better than a lot of the other stuff that has been said. And the part where you said we created God, that's perfect because it's like it's for our purposes, you know.
But that's making a god of yourself once again.
I don't think so. I don't think so. We're not just
To
because
say that we created God makes us God.
No, it
it's
does. It really doesn't.
it
And I
doesn't.
mean,
It's more of how we make sense of the world, you know, things
our
that we can't
perception.
explain. We try to create explanations for it. And all the cultures around the world throughout antiquity have creation stories, you know, how the universe came to being. There's no one that can say for sure what the hell happened.
Yeah, and just
We
so to try to make sense so we can say, oh, well, this makes sense. Like we have to, to some extent, I think, some people are, trying to make themselves God by, whatever, but, by trying to absolute something and saying that it's this or that, and with no, like with so much certainty that like anybody, you ready to hurt somebody, kill somebody, like, yeah, you're guiding yourself. But I'm,
because
I think that the universe would exist regardless of what we decide we're gonna call
exactly. And you're acting as an ambassador of God when you feel like your religion is the most
her
proper and
your
that you
God
want to
and my
dictate.
That
God.
is what you are called to do. If you believe in religion, you should espouse your religion because that is how you express salvation to others. If you can't believe in religion and then think to yourself, "Oh, I could be wrong," because that defeats the entire purpose.
Well,
Well, it's
I hear
okay
you,
that you
but
can feel that you're right, but dictating to others that they are wrong with their particular specific relationship with God is where you're getting out of bounds. You
If you're
know,
talking about the same God that we're talking about, there are a set of rules that need to be followed as a part of the text.
well, let me ask this: do we know the purpose of religion as we speak here? Like each person, do we understand what the purpose of religion was?
Salvation.
Well, for some, but I think overall it was to gather a larger body of people under one mind. Like it was to bring
So we're returning to the
a
idea of a tool of control.
yes, and to, at least to some extent, because so that people that live together, let's say in a city that there's many people, and then like to bring down chaos and people, okay, everybody coming up with their own way, it just made too much argument and fighting between people that otherwise would get along. So it was taught that certain things was safe for everyone to think or believe, or that we should gather our same mind on because it brought us together.
right.
Religion.
See, the problem, okay, where I would see a problem in that is that if you wanted to create a system of control that would bring everybody together and sort of render everybody in community with one another, why would you condemn them? Because one thing that I've learned, especially from speaking about religion, if you don't want somebody to follow you or don't want somebody to listen to you, you will tell them that they are wrong. If you want somebody to listen to you, if you want them to be happy and to do as you say, just confirm everything they believe and tell them that they are right. Condemnation does not bring people to you. Only those who feel like they need to do better accept condemnation.
Well, not all the religions are doing that. Christianity is one of the ones that's doing that, saying that others are wrong, saying that my way is the way.
And you going to hell if you don't
Yeah.
believe any other. Like, really, that's
Oh no, Islam is far worse, and not only that, they claim that they are the last and final of all religions.
And that's true. Islam does do the same thing.
Well, I disagree because most people that I hear, they don't consider it a religion. The same
They
way
don't consider Islam a religion.
No.
That's contrarianism.
Most other people consider Islam as religion because, I mean, as it's in its inception, it was just the law. But as far as I guess New Age, it is considered.
No, that's Sharia.
Huh?
Sharia. That is the separate law that is built into Islam.
Sharia.
Sharia. Thank you.
Well, really, I mean, if you look at the text in the Bible, most of it is law, along with stories that will give you a pathway and a good reason to follow it as such. So, I mean, some of the stories, the books that's built into it, because a lot of it is law. I mean, we talk about because, okay, I guess to start a different fight is like, okay, which one has been around the longest, Christianity or Islam?
Christianity.
And where would you get that information from?
I don't really have to debate that. That's common knowledge.
Well, not to everyone, because some of us believe that Islam has been around longer, and it renews itself every 25,000 years. And one of them can't even say that it's been around 25,000 years once.
Yeah, that's a new one.
Wait, let me jump in there.
Ask the Israelites.
Let me ask you this, Ewan. How many other religions have you studied? How do you come to the conclusion that Christianity is more right than any of the other religions that people have had all the way through?
That wasn't the original question. I've already answered why I believe Christianity to be the supreme religion. But the original question is, why would I believe that Islam is not older than Christianity? And even if it was, that doesn't determine its superiority.
Well, superiority is really not like because I mean
there can only be one correct religion.
No, I mean that's going to be based on opinion.
That's the entire concept of religion, that there can only be one correct one. Because if everybody has a correct religion,
that's the concept of monotheism and stuff like that. Because back before the Christianity, the Abraham religions took over, there were multiple religions, and they got along and kind of mixed.
They were peaceful.
The Abrahamic religions tended to be very warlike, much more warlike in their spreading and stuff like that.
And I recently wrote a paper talking about how, they misunderstood the previous religions when there was multiple gods in these religions, where it's still the monotheism idea still works with those older religions. Those different gods were different aspects of God, where that you can focus on, like nature, the weather, You know,
But that's
no.
literally why I said where Christianity is the fulfillment. If you say that all those things are different aspects of God, that's the fulfillment of those previous religions.
Say
Well, no, because
pre-Zoroastrianism,
see, that's
religions were polytheistic. They were multiple identities.
well,
They
I don't
weren't
know if any.
actually all faces of God, except for some of the Middle Eastern religions where gods had multiple facets. There were still multiple gods, but many of the gods had different faces that they would show.
Well,
Um,
they just
Christianity does that too. If you really
Well,
know,
yeah,
like if you
they
look
they
into
adopted the
Catholicism,
Trinity to help appease, to help entice the polytheistic tribes from the north. What were basically the barbarians, which were barbarian basically means anyone that is not of Rome or of Christianity at the time, or
yeah,
yeah,
pagan
but
is what that means.
yeah, it's a derogatory term.
look,
Uh,
the Catholicism does that when they use these different saints, the patron saints, because they're like these the different, I say, different energies that exist anyway in the universe, and they just using those people who would have, who represented those types of things, and it's kind
right.
of the same thing, but they're just expressing it a different way, as if those things didn't exist beforehand. So when we're talking about, most of the time paganism, people look at it totally different, because it's still like Christianity, saying that they're using pieces of paganism. Well, no, they're using pieces of things that already existed and boiling it all into one
Right.
thing.
Okay. Already existed other gods, all that, anything not of Christianity.
That's
Well,
the
So
way they
yeah,
looked at it.
basically there's Christianity and everything else is pagan.
But wait, let me ask
no.
y'all this: Do
Yes,
y'all? That's
that is the definition
So,
of what pagan means.
yeah.
Is
That's what.
not
That's what.
Christian.
That's what
so
they're.
anything outside of Christianity, but Christianity definitely says that it is. I mean, it celebrates
They-
paganism,
It does have
Technically,
paganism
Islam
parts.
is paganism.
huh?
It does have paganism parts, but you're both right. So, but wait, let me ask you this: Do y'all think that atheism is a religion, or science
It's
could
the
be a
absence of
religion?
religion.
I think
No,
it is a
it's a
belief
religion.
system in the absence of
If we
faith
look at the definition
of
of what
religion.
religion is, not, because religion isn't just, I mean, it's not just a celebration of God. Religion is religioning people together. And under an ideology, if you believe that there's no one entity that, that controls everything, or, the omnipresent, blah, 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 that is a religion. I mean, there's thousands of them that's based off of, or spun out of
I
what we
believe we would
consider.
call those philosophies.
Well, that, I mean, I guess you can say the
You
same
could
thing about
call
Christianity.
Christianity a philosophy. What about agnosticism? Would you consider that to be religion? I would say yes. I would say yes about science, and I would say yes about atheism.
Stuff like that. You believe in that.
You know, um, science is really becoming more and more like.
Well,
I wrote a paper that was titled "Science is a Religion" years
well,
ago,
let
and
me go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I lost my train of thought. Go ahead.
Well, let me say this, because science is, I mean, it is a religion, but at the same time, if we're looking at the definition of these words, because we're talking about our science is just the study of. So anything that we look into is science. Like that's why there's a such thing as Moorish science, because everything that the Moors went through and looked at, and the all of it was considered a science. It doesn't matter math, uh,
Science
cr-
is about the application of the scientific
language, like
theory
language is
to
broken down
bring
into
about
science.
repeatable results.
Words, like there's a certain way to look at words, like it's all everything.
Etymology.
Yeah,
Yes.
anything.
So, but Doc, the cultish values of science, where certain perspectives are accepted and others are not.
That's
Certain
yes.
certain certain citations are considered um, proper and others are not. Um,
Okay.
based on who did it or whatever.
Okay.
What's acceptable knowledge?
Okay. I'm to like I say, a very small encapsulation of science is basically the using of the scientific method to produce predictable, consistent results.
Yeah, I agree with that. But
Mhm.
that's if it was just that, then it wouldn't fit in this discussion. But it has
Now, see
gone.
yeah, because here's where the
Forgive me
proper
for chiming in,
application.
but sorry, forgive me for chiming
Oh,
in,
go
but
ahead.
I'm gonna leave the conversation. I gotta go to sleep pretty soon. I got some business to handle in the morning. It's been
Okay.
great talking to you, gentlemen.
All right,
Thank
man.
you
Thank you
for
for being
coming.
here.
Thank you for coming on, man.
Thank
Yep.
you for having me.
Say,
All right.
I look forward to seeing you around here, hopefully more often.
Of course.
Beautiful.
Awesome.
Good night to you, gentlemen.
All right. Yeah. So those. Let me ask y'all.
Oh, by
Ritual.
the way, hi, Pat.
Hey man, what's up? What's up?
Yeah, we were all in here tonight. That's pretty cool. The words cult, the word ritual. A lot of times when you say ritual, it has a negative connotation,
Yes.
and people perceive it as,
That's
I don't
bad.
know,
I'm sorry.
pagan, bad, voodoo, or something.
Communion,
Well, yeah,
mass, those are all rituals.
but see, but
Exactly.
those people.
Baptism.
Now, for me to respond to that, what you just said is that it's ignorance. It's people who aren't willing to actually do the research and know the words that they're using. Because cult does not, of course, you hear cult by itself, but it's okay to have culture. If you just add just the URE to the word, oh, it's great to use, but there's still the root word of it you're saying is negative, which is really where all of that begins. So a cult is where people come together. It's
Right.
not necessarily, to kill themselves or to listen to somebody because Christianity began as a cult. And look where it is today.
Right.
So I really see, a ritual, it's just trying to, the right.
And I think about the word blasphemy also in this particular
Yeah, but
part of the
culture
conversation.
and cult don't come from the same. They sound the same, but they don't come from the same root words.
No,
Well, the,
please advise.
well,
Okay, cults. It comes from a French culte, Latin cultus. It means inhabited, cultivated, worshipped. Culture comes from Middle English and means cultivation, growing the land. So that basically cult is about believing in worshiping, cultivated worship, where culture is about of the land. So like the culture comes from the land,
yeah,
and cult is from the worship.
yeah. But either way, cult is not a bad word. Like the connotation that is
Neither.
that it tends to be,
Not since
attributed to.
Jim Jones gave everybody that damn Kool-Aid.
Don't drink the Kool-Aid, y'all. Don't drink the Kool-Aid. What was I gonna say? Blasphemy. So the word cult and what was the other word I used? Ritual and blasphemy. So like people get they're afraid to explore the knowledge or to go beyond their confines of their religion, if you will. So it's a way to control people. Whenever you say something that's like questioning your religion or whatever, then that's blasphemy. You know, what if you do some things that doesn't fit into your religion and they call it a ritual, you know, you're sacrificing, I don't know, you have an altar or something. But it kind of goes back to what I was saying about Christianity, looking at things from a, you know, a perspective of being better than everything else or whatever. Like you have the, what is it, the Day of the Dead? How do you call it?
Dia de la Muerte.
Dia de la Muerte.
Dia of the Muerte. Death.
Yeah. So it's not necessarily, it's not the same as Halloween. It has some
it's a
similarities.
crossover. It's a crossover and stuff. It really is.
But isn't that the same holiday?
No,
they're pretty. No, they're
not on the same day.
They're a few months apart, I think, or a few weeks.
Yeah. So, but it's, people have this perception of it as cultish, as evil, or worshiping death or whatever. But that's not what it's about. It's about your ancestors and remembering them. You know,
connecting with them. It's a day when the veil between worlds is thinner, and the spirits of your ancestors and the dead come back to give advice to the people today, or to talk to the people of today, to give them comfort and hope.
So they put out like
to give closure to things, so they can let the dead go.
Okay. I kind of heard that before, but you know, I've never really practiced that because I mean, I think a lot of those holidays that exist today, we've lost the real meaning and depth.
That's why I brought it up.
Yeah.
What's beautiful about this holiday, and I'm on the story because this is how I know what about it is. A friend of mine lost his dad after a couple of years of just stupid shit on his part and all that, and he didn't have time to say what he wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
So he went down and he was visiting his great grandmother and grandmother on Day of the Dead, and she gave him a picture of his dad in the room that he was sleeping in, and said, "Talk to him tonight." And he did. And he got that out of his heart. He got that out. And he talked to his dad. And he said, "I think my dad talked to me because, you know, it changed. Everything changed. I lost that hatred. The anger was gone. And it couldn't have happened unless I was part of the Day of the Dead that day."
So that's beautiful right there. You know.
Sorry, I'm tearing a little bit.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. So you put out like your grandfather's favorite dish or favorite drink or something out there on the altar to entice them to come closer, and you try, you know, and you try to get closure or instruction from them. You know, it's commemorating them, it's respecting them, it's the most important part is remembering them. That's how you keep people alive, right? It's like there's a saying that says you don't truly die until no one ever says your name again, something like that. So like, I mean, I brought this up to be like a lot of people would look at
the memory of a person.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, but a lot of people look at that, the people that are outside of it, that don't practice it, will look at it as like devil worshiping or worshiping death or whatever, like cultish blasphemy, paganism or whatever. And mostly it's because they don't understand it, and that is the issue when you come in from your specific religion and you feel like you're supposed to go to church on Sunday, or you're supposed to go to church on Saturday or whatever. And, you're supposed to pray before you go to bed or whatever. Like you're supposed to be baptized or whatever. Like they
You mean
have
like in a ritual?
Remember too, separating the reverence of our elders and demonizing our elders right now is what they're doing in our culture to help continue to demolish the nuclear family, the extended family.
See, I love that.
They need a whole bunch of shattered, hurting people that are lost and don't have a support system, so they all turn to the government to take care of them.
Exactly. It's a way to control people. And you separate, you divide and conquer. You don't have that strong family unit. You don't have that extended family. We used to all across the world.
They took away the families, and they still make mental health a completely separate line on insurance and everything.
Yep, just like dental and vision.
And they still demonize people that go to see a therapist.
Yes, it's looked on as
he's going to a therapist. Let's not give him that job. Let's take it easy on him. Let's not challenge him. Let's give him more time to think about the shit that's fucked up in his head. I'm like, no, I want that man to be busy. He's going to work like a demon to keep the demons away.
It's so terrible how our society is. And if we had that extended family that we naturally had throughout, see, what people don't really understand is the way that we live now is very, very recent in our,
and very, very primitive.
It's recent. It's more recent than my 55 years old.
Well, I mean, we're still
the way we're living today.
If we think about it, we really are like way more primitive than previous societies and generations that's maybe hundreds of years or thousands of years away from us, because like the ideologies that, just for somebody to perceive that the Holy Trinity, Father, Mother, Child, or that exists, what for the reasons that any of us exist, is like far gone. Like, that there's other ways that it's going to be a productive way of life. And, we just, it's kind of sad to see that, you can be looked down on if you even think of that as like you're harming someone if you think that way, that okay, having a family is screwed. That's it's a foul way to even look at the world. I'm like, I don't know, it's crazy, bro. Like I'm gonna kind of I'm trying to tiptoe around it, but I'm just gonna say a natural way of life is almost like a sin. And if of course, you can't say much about the other types of relationships because you're hurting somebody else's feelings. But
yeah, I get where you're going with it, but it's true. The family unit is the base of society. If you want to have a functioning society, then you need to have a functioning family unit.
Families were the first tribe.
And if you want life to go on forever, you need man, woman, and child. Like, there's no way around that. And earlier we was talking about, the Holy Trinity being God, Jesus, and the Holy Ghost or whatever. And Ewan was saying that, you shouldn't worship man, woman, like that's not worthy of worship, man, woman, and child. And I'm like, what is greater than that? You know what I mean? And then he's saying, you're making yourself God or whatever. It's not about making yourself God. It's making the reverence of life to continue, and it is something greater than yourself. Is the family unit? You know what I'm saying? It's the child. It's the it's the future, which we can't have without a man, woman, and child.
Amen to that. But I guess I find that there's a lot of hypocrites that even like, because I mean the conversation of religion not being a controlling factor seems to be really unseen, because they're so controlled that whatever they've been told is so gospel now, that now just because that's what's been repeated to them over and over and over and over again, for them to even consider something else, or to even really rationally look at some of these ideologies that they're considering and speaking and pushing, goes right against the things that they say that they believe in, because they'll fight you over what's said in the Bible, or try to prove to you different things that said in the Bible, but then turn around and make excuses for those things and saying that it didn't mean what it's saying, or it's just such a back and forth that I can't really, I can't even give any real credit to those people, because it's like you're not even really seeing the world clearly. Like, like, how can I continue a conversation with you when you don't even have a true balanced thought? Because it conflicts almost every time. But
That's how I feel about the Trinity. It's so confusing.
Well, see, I distinctly just find a difference between ministers and preachers, because they may speak the same line in ways, but a preacher is going to tell what he thinks about the Bible, and he's going to tell you how the Bible is going to make your life better, while a minister is going to come in and find the right words of God and the way in the Bible to help heal you in the way that you need, and not necessarily in the way he say. I consider myself a minister. I don't bring out stuff that I think, my interpretation, this is what this means and stuff like this. I go, well, what does this mean to you? How does this affect you? I read this. How do you feel about this? How does this reflect on your place? And how does this bring you closer to God, or how does this make you feel like you're not in tune?
I like that. I like that a lot. And, a lot of the, I agree with you on that. The preachers, they are telling you, their interpretation of what's right and wrong. And a lot of them, the same verses over and over again. And the thing about interpretation is no one can really argue with you and say that your interpretation is wrong. So then we never get anywhere. We don't get, any conclusion. We don't get to any, enlightenment when, you have these different interpretations, and we can argue and say, yours is wrong and mine is right, or whatever the hell. And it's like, neither one of us can be 100% that our interpretation is correct, so there's no
you end
real
up with what we have now, and the richest, most influential men of God aren't actually even preachers. They're self-help experts that mix and mash the law of attraction and the Bible just enough that they don't have to pay taxes.
That's where I was about to go. It's like, so they can make money. It's like a scam. It's like the person who comes to you and tells you what I can help you. I got a self-help book, buy this book and it'll change your life. But hey, the book costs $800 or whatever.
Say, please send your money to the Lord. Here's my address.
$39.95.
Well, I'll tell you, I admit, Joel Osteen does not make a penny. No, he makes I think a $1 salary a year as the minister of his church. However,
speaking engagements.
You gotta
books.
fork out 20 grand just for him to show up and talk for 5 minutes.
Yeah. So yeah,
You know, he
and a
doesn't
lot
use
of
a publishing house for his books. He uses the publishing house for the church, a nonprofit. So
tax evasion.
it's as well. He still pays a little, but he doesn't pay near as much as he could.
And that's what
But
the problem.
I'm not going to knock him that much, because if you're going to use the damn rules, use the business rules, use them. I just don't like the fact that he's running a self-help enterprise disguised as a church.
Yeah, I can't entertain that stuff. Like,
But I think churches should be taxed anyway.
I think so too, and they shouldn't get so big. I can't bring myself to go to these really huge churches. You know,
I'm not going to knock big churches either, man. People want to feel like they're part of something big. The smaller you are, the bigger you need sometimes.
I remember.
Church be taxed?
I remember. They
That's
should be
why
taxed.
white people walking into a black church the first time get blown the fuck away, because they're
usually
used
those
to
are
a
smaller
small. Yes, but the spirit, the feel is so big coming out of them.
Those big churches.
Remember,
like
big and small is not just the size of the house. It's also the spirit of the people in it.
I feel you on that. I can't really argue with that, but
That's what I'm saying. They get overwhelmed. The feeling that they get coming out of there is so big they've never felt like it. Yet they may have gone to a place with 500 people in it and never ever felt anything from that. And then they go to this little 40, 50 person church, and the next thing you know, they're just sitting there in the back. You see their tears going down there, and God knows they still treat you. They still try to get you up and come and dance with them, or whatever they do.
Yeah, that's been my experience.
Let me present this, because I feel like taxation is really just another way to accept slavery, because or pimpism, or whatever you want to call it, because it's just like somebody to make money. Now, of course, if the government is doing right with the money, it's almost like you just giving contributions to the world to be able to get things done right, and blah blah blah, whatever. But
that's the theory behind taxation. Is it is supposed to be used by a competent government to create proper infrastructures and safety nets for their citizens to be able to thrive.
It's a communal good. So, like,
it should be used on things like power grid, transportation, seawalls, and once from there, it should make sure education, because we've made education a public thing. Therefore, education should be part of that stuff. And then from there, we need to start, making better lives for the people and things like that with what's left over. And we should stop funding fucking foreign wars.
When I was young and I used to go to a church, it was a small church, and sometimes we would have the pastor would say, "Okay, we're taking up the offering today. The offering is going to go to Sister Judy. Her husband died, or she lost her job. She's got 5 kids or whatever." And she's struggling, and the offering today is going to go to Sister Sally, Sister Judy.
So there was
whatever.
Wait a minute, hold on. You went to a church and they only had one offering?
There was a time where there was only one offering that came in. It was the tithes.
Passed it around once.
It was only once. It would go around once. Like, that has changed. And that's kind of the direction I was going into, and it kind of goes into what you were saying.
That second bowl to me is like when they flip the tip screen around at freaking McDonald's.
Yeah, man.
I'm like,
that's
what?
Crazy. That's crazy. Second and third time they be coming around.
Oh, there's 3 now.
Yeah.
Well, I think sometimes they do it for different purposes.
So they can make more money.
Well, tithing is not necessarily giving to the church, though. Tithing could be like giving it to that woman, or buying the homeless some food. Tithing is supposed to be about not just the church, but the community.
And that's what it's about. So, but what you were saying, Pat, they'll say it's the building fund or whatever, and the damn church is the same size and whatever. But the damn taxes, that's the reason why they should be taxed, is because they don't do that. They don't give to the community no more. They don't help Sister Sally no more. That's not what they do. So if they were doing that,
that's because they have
build a $3 million house, you need to start paying taxes.
Yeah, man.
Well, but that's because they have become agents of the government to be able to control the atmosphere in those communities.
They're extracting from those communities. You go through the hood and it's a church, liquor store, church, liquor store, church, and dilapidated buildings.
And half of those churches are African or Southeast Asia or all these poor places around the world, and they pull that money from the local communities and send them over there.
Right. So,
but don't they originally go there for the word and the word of God from the spoken from the Bible?
That's
theoretically, yes.
But
the community needs help. They need. They can pull those resources together and build houses and live their life better.
Let Pat finish.
Yeah, because see, the whole thing is that like the reason why these people are placed there and are able to get tax exemptions is because they are controlling the minds of the people in this community.
I agree.
Pacifying them,
but also telling them how they should think and how they should react to the world. Yes, it's harsh and all that, but guess what? You don't. You're
gonna get heaven afterwards.
Yeah, promising things or I guess giving them certain expectations. So that's why we gotta really be careful about like, okay, these churches. Some of them are good. I think for the most part, there's a lot of them, especially the smaller churches, are really good. They, but they're still in the same boat because then, all of them are not. Because I went to my aunt's church and, they have a segment of the church where it's like, all right, who needs their light bill paid? All right, blah, blah, and they go around and it's not just one person. They're helping, say, all right, look, we're giving away $50 here. We give, just to try to put money back into the people's hands so that they can do those things, different things they need.
I went to a church in Louisiana that did that.
This was in Louisiana.
But for the most part, like the Osteen Church came from the hood. They was over there on the north side. I remember when it was a smaller church, and that neighborhood has not changed. It still has those dilapidated ass houses in that area. That area is trash. It looks like a war zone. It looks like a post-war zone over there.
But that's why I'm trying to tell you that.
And that church has grown.
That's one of the reasons why they left that area too, because the church got broken into several times and cars were getting broken into in it. So they just left the area.
Well, I mean, if they were helping to build up that area, then that's what they should have been doing. Everyone should uplift. All boats should raise, whatever the phrase is.
A church the size of the Osteen Church, I forget the name of it, but a church that size,
Lakewood,
should probably have at least 2 grocery stores. Should have some, barbershops or some buildings that the people can be able to go in and start their own business where they can either, lease from at a low rate or even be there for free.
Community centers, after school programs.
Now you're making them property owners and business renters, in which case they should be taxed.
Pantries, so many things that they could be doing, but they're not doing. And it's like once the church gets big and it's a big band and it's a big show.
But the thing is, if they were doing what they were supposed to do, it wouldn't be need for tax because they're actually putting things back into the community that the government does not need to do.
And that is the basis for the reason why they're not being taxed, but they're not doing that. Therefore, they should be taxed. Period.
Okay.
Let's switch gears and do some news and politics before we get out of here.
Okay, so just to let you know, Lakewood Church is doing has a child development center. I believe that they may be planning, if they don't do it already, to split off to have their own school.
School.
It's gonna be
Oh,
another
wow.
way to make money.
Well, here's a good one from 2010. Joel Osteen partnered with HISD to open a charter school specifically for autistic children.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
That's a good thing, but I bet you it's a money making machine.
But they should be doing way more because they have too much talent in these churches, and people doesn't have the ability to grow because the limited funds. And that church has millions of dollars, which, like, if these businesses was able to make certain money instead of paying the government for something, because I really feel like, okay, we should give to the government if they're gonna do their job, but it seems as though, like, because they are in cahoots together, they have they have come together to say that, okay, we're gonna deny these people life. Like, they're gonna have heartbeats, but they're really dead because they're not gonna really live.
It's an extraction, and the hood is in arrested development. Like I say, those houses in those neighborhoods still look the same, and the church has grown into a behemoth. So it's clearly extraction. And these are poor folks who are supporting this stuff. People who are paying their tithes and their lights are off. They tell these people, you're going to get it back tenfold, so
rich people
give more.
Most rich people don't need the motivational speech because they already have it embedded in them that they're going to do something, big or strong with their life. So that's who that type of stuff works on, is the poor.
Mm-hmm.
The people who still needs hope.
Yeah.
So it's a racket that man, it's unbelievable. I mean, I'm glad I have a heart because, shoot, maybe I would just jump in there with them. And
I'm telling you, and I've been thinking about it too. Like I've said it before on the show. If I ever open a church, I've crossed over to the dark side. Because I can write a sermon. Better believe it. Let's move on to this. Check this out. It
I
says
made good money for a few years writing sermons.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think that somebody like ourselves could actually make a difference, and maybe we should be pushing to getting into a position like that, where if you run a church that comes with across that type of money, like, we could actually put the money in places that is needed. But the government will probably come and knock your head off because it's like you're not following the plan.
Right.
Our agreement is, screw the
Extraction.
people. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
check this out. It says, Donald Trump, we're going to give our police their power back, and we're going to give them immunity from prosecution.
We're going to bring them back like they used to be. We're going to make them safe places again. We're going to give our police their power back, and we're going to give them immunity from prosecution. So they're not prosecuted for doing their job. We'll take over the horribly run capital of our country, Washington, D.C., and clean up, renovate, and rebuild our capital city so that it's no longer a nightmare of murder and crime. We're going to rebuild our cities. We're going to bring them back like they used to be. We're going to make them safe places again. We're going to give our police their power back, and we're going to give them immunity from prosecution.
So it says President Trump casts vision for 24 and beyond.
The immunity to prosecution has one of those spirit of and letter of problems. Because if they were doing their job properly, they would not need immunity from prosecution.
Yep.
Boom.
Now,
Look,
if it's heat of the moment, if it's a response in the moment, of self-defense or something like that, we need to lean heavier toward the police officer.
and I
But if
can't
it is
argue with
just
that.
brutal beating the fuck out of people, absolutely fucking not.
Yes, I'm all the way on board with you on that. And look, the first comment agrees with you. It says, "I'm a cop. Nothing about this is good. If you're doing your job, you don't need immunity."
I love that.
Boom, boom,
I
boom,
didn't even
boom.
see that. I will honestly tell you, I did not see that. I was rolling a
Boom, boom.
cigarette while I was.
Yeah, so boom, boom, boom. Yes, I agree with you, Doc. Man is not, man is not infallible. They have pressure positions, stressful
There needs
situations.
to be a reasonable leeway for mistakes. Shit happens and stuff like that. But gross negligence.
Dr. Malcolm Tanner says that if a cop illegally kills someone or does not do their job properly, they kill someone in duty wrongfully, they're going to do 75 years. They get 75 years. So that's at least to try to send their mindset
to do a better job, be more careful.
But see, now we're going for vengeance on a crime on someone that can be rehabilitated and released into the public. Maybe not to ever work a police or authority job again, but placing them in jail for 75 years
is kind of extreme. I would agree. And I was thinking about
that's the whole idea of all of these big lifelong hard things. 18-year-old guy kills somebody, purpose accident, you give him 90 years, he's never going to come out of jail. Why would you do that? Now, mind you, this has to be looked at on a case by case.
Nobody really gets those types of those life terms unless it's a very heinous crime, and that's on any end. So, but the main thing is, like, most laws are put in place so that people will not do. It's like they'll think about it and it be more along the book.
I just feel like they shouldn't be above the law. They should be held accountable to the law just like anybody else.
But some people, like a lot of police officers that we see in the that's done all of these all of this horror in our communities, like this has become common practice. So if you put it in there, let them know, hey, this is where the buck stops, and if you caught doing these types of crimes, we will push it to the extent of the law, and this is up to 75.
Immunity to civil prosecution and immunity to civic responsibility are two different lawsuits. We may not prosecute you for what you did because it was under the authority of your job, but that does not mean you are not responsible for the malfeasance of your actions and can still be sued for money by the victim.
Well, no,
I don't like the lawsuits.
The whole thing is to be able to avoid having to spend the money to anybody, because we just want people to be more responsible with our lives.
This is where their insurance and stuff comes on. Like I say, if the guy beats him a little too damn hard in self-defense, we're not going to process him in self-defense. But if the guy is fucked up for 2 years because of it, or has extensive medical bills, it is reasonable to sue for negligence or for the fact that he used too much force. He may not have to go to jail for it, but there is a reasonable amount that should be expected in compensation to a victim of something like that.
Yeah, I don't agree with the lawsuits. I mean, if the lawsuit came out of their pension, then maybe. But if you committed a criminal act, then you should be criminally held accountable.
No, if it comes out of their if it comes out of the pension, then you're punishing all the officers for the actions and lawsuits of one.
Well, maybe they'll hold each other accountable. So what I'm saying is,
no. You
listen.
cannot punish a group of people for the actions of one.
Well, kick the lawsuit all the way out. If you assaulted somebody, if I assaulted somebody, then I'm going to be criminally held.
Wait for them to do harmful.
Criminally
See,
held
then you're saying
things.
that we need
Like they'll still find a way because it's almost like you're
immunity from
giving
prosecution.
them leeway to do it, and like, okay, well, if you at least do it this way, you can get away. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, you tell them that, hey, no, you will be fully charged for whatever crime it is,
because the
and
taxes
you
pay
know it
those
can be up to
lawsuits
75
anyway.
years. So I don't really see where the harm is. Where
I think
we're
75
telling
years is extreme. Just hold them
officers or
accountable.
really people in general that if you commit a crime, you're gonna face whatever is deserving for that crime,
No, you just came that one.
no matter what position you hold, because you're American citizen, national, whatever your position is in this country, like it is not weighed more than somebody's life, and you know, thinking that a dollar amount is gonna change it.
Let me read a couple comments right here. It says, damn, the only thing he can be talking about is allowing police to kill people, and we know which people they're going to kill. Shaking my head. Another one that says, if I decide to vote, I will vote Trump so I can keep my guns and be able to defend myself and my family when the awful country starts a civil war. Another comment that says, I'm not voting for Joe, that's all. One more. It says the man that promoted violence at the Capitol that was filled with police, where was his need to give these police their power back when all he was doing was trying to take the power and take the law into his own hands? And also to add, you're going to give power back to cops that has been persecuted for killing innocent black young men because you didn't clarify the charges of these cops. You just said cops that's been persecuted, and now I'm worried. America, if we make this man the president again, he will for sure do what he didn't do the first time, and that was add more turmoil to the world, and your freedom as we know it will be no more. Fight the power.
Well, look,
More
let me
turmoil to the
say this.
world?
Look, let me say this.
He's the first modern president that there was no war during his time.
And willing to go too far to try to, you know, get the things that's within their agenda. And that could, you know, like that, I feel like that equally by both sides. And there's other people out here that may not be perfect for the job, but I definitely believe that they're going to give it a do better than what we're expecting from either the top candidates that we're getting advertised to every day. And I'm going to leave it at that.
I still say him and Biden are both poison. But
Yeah,
given a choice between 45 and Florida man, I would take 45 again. No,
well, I
man.
mean, if that's the only two,
he's the guy that we should be scared of.
Yeah, but he don't have no chance to win.
If that's the
he already
only
dropped
two,
out of the
I
race.
agree. If those were the only two running,
And
I would have to agree
no
with
matter where, no matter how it goes, I hope Vivek ends up as friggin' vice president. I hope he ends up as a vice president. I don't think he's a little too radical and a little too follows the establishment to be a president right now. But I think if he got, I think as a vice president, he could do well. And vice president is a spokesman. They really don't do much.
No, they do a lot of stuff. They do a lot of stuff.
Yeah, they do a lot of stuff, but Chaka doesn't really get it. He doesn't really see the benefit in him.
One.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that guy at all.
You just don't like him. But you know, if you really gave him a chance. But I mean, you know, that's the
I
whole
like
thing,
where he's coming from. He's got a long way to go though. That's what I'm saying.
The main thing is that because most of us, most Americans, we all have like some similar agendas. We just have a different way that we believe that how we should get to
The
them.
problem is he's a try-hard right now, and nobody likes a try-hard.
I think he actually wants to see the real changes. And you're gonna have to be really aggressive on getting certain things done. You have to be strong about what you do believe in, and work to
But
really try to get those things done.
he's way too Trump trained now.
Mhm.
Well,
That's
everybody
the
is.
main. That's the main reason I don't like him. Is he's way too brown noser.
Mhm.
Well, I don't. I'm gonna tell you what, because he's a Republican, and Trump is because I mean it's politics. Because I don't
Yeah,
think
he's
he's
the odd
quite
man
as.
out, and he's got to follow with the mainstream of the party, or he's never going to have a chance in the party. They'll shut him down now before he gets a chance if he doesn't
Yes,
play
they'll
with the Trump
blackball him
team.
and make him unsuitable
Like
to be
Boebert, like
president.
he's going to be taking that Boebert boat because she's about to be brushed away by the Republicans.
Let's move on to this. Check this out. It says the U.S. just broke ground on its first ever high-speed rail line.
Ooh,
It will.
Did you see the little thing I sent you about the magnetic things that actually will work on the current lines that they're working on?
I missed that.
I sent it under. It might be time to invest in this company now.
Okay, I remember that, but I don't remember looking at the actual. Clip.
Yeah, it's a way to do a maglev style train. It doesn't quite go as fast as the high speed rail, but it goes faster than regular rail. But
What
it
is
can
the
be
ticker?
done on regular lines without having major modifications.
What is their ticker?
I don't know. I sent it in the chat stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
What
So
was
this
that,
one
today? Yesterday?
that was like last week.
It's during that time that everybody was like everybody was like out.
Yeah, I ain't gonna
I sent
lie.
a bunch of stuff.
I'm still busy, but I just so happen to still be up right now. But
So this one right here, it says it will connect travelers between Las Vegas and Los Angeles in under 2 hours and could be completed by the end of the decade. They're also building one Dallas to Houston one. Let me read this. It says builders just officially broke ground on the first high-speed rail in the U.S. connecting travelers between Las Vegas and Los Angeles in under 2 hours. It could be completed by the end of the decade. In addition to cutting down commute times and reducing greenhouse gases, it's also believed that the new rail will open the door for the construction of an entire high-speed rail network across the U.S. The train will travel 186 miles per hour and attract an estimated 11 million passengers annually. The U.S. Department of Transportation estimates it could cut 400,000 tons of carbon dioxide emissions annually and create 35,000 new jobs.
man, I'm wondering who's gonna be responsible for building this rail.
They have funds available for the Biden passed that infrastructure bill. That's what it was.
That's
I don't
not
know
what
if this
that's
one
not what I'm
specifically.
asking.
I don't know if this one specifically is come using funds for that, but I think that's what it is.
No. My question is not who's paying for it, because of course we're paying for it. Who's gonna design?
You're breaking up. We can't hear you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Who's responsible for building, like who's actually like the what do you call it? The engineers? Who's constructing this? Is it a Chinese company? Is it Brown and Root? Is it somebody, is it who's responsible for building it?
I don't know. I'm just reading this clip here.
Okay.
I mean, we could probably
I'll try to find out.
we could probably look that up. Regardless, I think this is a great idea. And we're behind the curve when it comes to this kind of thing. we should have already had this thing. And as far as like the environment, I don't think that that is that could be a benefit or whatever, but I think that this just makes sense, and it should have been done ages ago. And the airline industry, although all the time we take it to airports and shit, like this is really kind of dumb.
No, I think it. I mean, I think it really makes sense, and we should have it. But I guess my question is because I mean, unless you go around the country, you don't realize like the toll system being controlled by different countries. The ticket world belongs to another country. Like a lot of these things are our biggest. Not I'm gonna say if all the infrastructure, but some of these things are actually owned by other countries, and I'm just wondering like what is the cost? Like where's the cost in up for us, even on getting on the rail to go between Houston and Dallas? You know, that's like some of
Hell,
my questions.
even if it's $20 and takes 3 hours or even 2 hours, that's awesome.
Awesome.
You're in Dallas 2 hours. You can get up 9, 10. You're there.
Uh-huh.
You're there at lunchtime.
Come back home.
No,
hang out,
$20-$30.
get back
I
on
think
there
would
at
be
7 or
reasonable.
8. Bam, you're back home by 10.
Well,
Yeah,
I think
you
that
could
that might be somewhat reasonable.
you
I
could
mean,
do a commute to Dallas, like you could live in Houston and work in Dallas, or vice versa.
I hear you.
It'd be about the same as taking the Katy Freeway, I guess.
Yeah, without the stress of the traffic and the gas money.
Yeah, no. If you're paying $20,
Oh, I
a
sent
day,
you messenger link to that company or to that short.
All right.
a day would, yeah, even $10 a day would still end up being quite. Well, I would say not quite expensive, but like it's gonna be sizable coming out of a lot of people's income.
It's gonna be $20-$25 each way, probably.
Yeah, well, that's gonna be way less than the gas you spend driving and time you spend driving to Dallas.
Time,
But
yeah,
but
gas
why
about
would
the
you?
same.
But unless you're making, you know, 100 to no, probably at least 150, 200,000 a year, like that. Because I don't know if you realize how much that
Yeah,
$50,
but think
a
about
day. That's
tourism,
$250
concert.
a week. $250 a week on a Monday through Friday basis, or let's
No,
say 5 day work.
500 both ways.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
well,
250, but never mind, my bad.
yeah, it might not be economically feasible for everyone, but it's an option, is what I'm saying.
Okay,
But
I hear you.
tourism, concerts. You want to go to some event or something that's going up there. Football games, man. Dallas and
Bruh.
Texas people will be going back and forth to football games, baseball games.
Yeah, no, it'll be great. It'll be awesome to have. But I think that
Hopefully.
like it's still gonna be pricing the average citizen, the person who's making $40,000 a year, it is pushing them out of really being able to use it to,
Yeah.
for whatever purpose.
Well,
Like
They'll be
the
able to
average.
use it for events that they wouldn't have been able to go to, though.
Yeah, and as time goes, the price it should decrease over time. Let's move on to this.
That's what they said about the toll roads.
I know that's why I stuttered while I was saying that.
Okay, all right. No, I'm glad somebody said
it's going
something.
to go with the efficiency of government.
I'm glad somebody is there because I'm like, do y'all not realize who we're dealing with?
The price actually went up on the tollway. They told us it was going to go. They said it was going to eventually be free once it was paid for. Like they probably paid for that thing 10 times over, and the price then went up. It's crazy.
Man,
and look how much money
there's taxation.
And look how much money they're saving now ever since COVID, because they don't even have to pay for those people who was in the tollway booths before.
That's a few million extra dollars a year.
Shit. And
they went up after that.
And I covered a story about the guy who's over that, and how he's getting paid this huge, exorbitant amount of money. Anyways, check this out. New York Stock Exchange to consider 24/7 trading. What do y'all think about that? Let me read this right quick. It says, the New York Stock Exchange is considering a shift to 24/7 trading and is currently surveying market participants about this potential change as financial regulators review a new application for the first all-day stock exchange. The idea of fully regulated overnight exchange is gaining traction, which will mark a big evolution from current after-hours trading practices managed through less regulated dark pools. Would you be for or against this? What do y'all think?
Hold on, I'm trying to.
I actually think, in a way, of course, it's going to make billions for corporations, or they wouldn't be trying to do it. But your everyday trader, your Billy Bob that learned on the internet during COVID and stuff like that, and playing around with a few $1,000s, I think it's going to be good for them.
Because if they're really watching the market, they can jump on something in the middle of the night and take advantage of those quick changes.
Yeah, I mean, the people that they're no longer restricted to having to be up at one of 3 times of the day when the 3 major markets pop on. You know, basically Asia, Europe, and America.
Right.
And I think there's like 6 or 8 hours between each one. 24-hour trade. You know, I mean, people do that anyway. They trade and they just trade on the next market as it goes.
Yeah.
But that's getting harder and harder to do. And China's wanting to shut people from outside of their country trading in small amounts. You know, only brokers and stuff like only big money stuff.
This will also open up other markets in other parts of the world. You know, different time zones, opposite side of the.
Again, the problem with that is, will they allow those smaller markets into the bigger market now? Now that you know, this is just the New York Stock Exchange. This is not necessarily Zimbabwe or Mongolia or France or something like that. So unless all globally the markets decide to go ahead and open up like that, it's like, what's up with that? I'm looking more and see what the bonus to the billionaires is for this.
I think though overall, I don't like it because of the culture of work here in the United States. You know, this will exacerbate the idea of, like, you know, not clocking out, if you will. You know what I mean?
Well, no, actually, what it's going to do is stock market and stuff like that is going to turn into factory shift work.
Yeah, some guy is going to pop.
You're going to come in. You're going to clock. You're going to punch.
And another guy's going to come in.
Right.
Yeah.
Now you got 3 people using the same desk 24 hours a day.
Yeah. So, but still, you're going to have people you already have people that watch those damn. I feel like it's like The Matrix, the movie The Matrix, you know, when the guy is looking at the screen and he's like, I don't even see the code anymore. I just see redhead, blonde, brunette. Y'all know that scene? And it's like, It's a lot of guys that just watch that fucking screen. My dad had a friend, we go over his house, and whenever we went over his house, that's all that would be on.
He's got 3 screens with chart graphs and stuff on them, or 2 screens with chart graphs, and 1 that's just numbers and stuff.
And that's the only thing.
Yeah, I'm teaching myself. I'm trying to teach myself how to do that.
This dude is watching this all day, every damn day, seemed like, because every time we went over there, that's the only thing that was on. Like, and I'm like, what kind of life is that you're living when you're looking at these goddamn fucking numbers all fucking day? Like, that's not life. That's not living. That's not being alive.
You know, some people say that about service. The life of being a server is not a life. It's a cop-out. Bartender, restaurant waiter, those are kids' jobs. Those are college jobs. Why are you an adult trying to make them? Those aren't real jobs.
I'm trying to get out of this shit.
You try to explain to me that counter help at a Burger King is a real job and deserves as much or more money than we're making as a server. I mean, and so if that's it's a job, man. And I guarantee you that job right there, if he's a third decent at it at all, he bank it.
I just think about the evolution of man. What does it do to us over time?
Well, we're going from Homo erectus and straight up, and the next in our evolution is going to be hunched over, fat bellies, and a dent across our head that's there because it starts getting born into us from wearing all these damn headsets.
My kid said I had a dent in my head, bro. I have these noise reduction earphones. I love them, and I have them on all the time. And my kid said that I have a dent in the middle of my head, and since they said that, I'd be trying to put my earphones in a different spot or whatever, and I'm really conscious of it.
What I want you to do is Google influencer headset dent, and then click the images tab.
Oh my God!
And
I'm over here rubbing my head right now.
Some of these influencers actually have almost flat heads, or a dent in their head, and it actually rises on both sides from wearing the super tight earphones all the time.
Man, I have those earphones on my head all the time.
You see how I'm always moving mine back and forth and around?
Yeah,
I noticed I was getting a dent too.
Shit. But anyways, I mean, the quality of life of 24-hour trading is what we're talking about, and looking at the damn matrix all day long.
Well, see, it's a job. That's his choice to do that all day. Just like it's our choice to come home and watch 8 hours of TV or 8 hours of the internet or whatever. I can't begrudge people that do that. I mean, I don't hang out with them very often because they don't, think of anything else than that. And I have problems relating with, hardcore finance people.
The internet has this saying where they say you need to touch grass. They've been saying lately. And I like that term a lot. It's like, you need to touch grass, bro. This guy's looking at the matrix all day. You need to touch grass a little bit more.
I've gotten to where at night, at least 2 or 3 times a night, I'll grab a cigarette and step out on the patio. I'll have my socks off. I'll walk around in the grass right outside the apartment.
Yeah,
because we don't have a whole lot of stray dogs, and so
it's like we're energy, electric beings. We need to be grounded. We need to get grounded. We have all this rubber, the rubber on our soles of our shoes, the rubber on the soles of the cars, separating us from nature, separating us from reality.
If you put a car battery on the concrete of your thing, it drains it. So if we are beings of energy, does it not do the same?
The concrete, probably. Yeah. Let me read a couple comments. It says, awesome. Now I can lose money all day instead of only 1/3 of the day. Another one that says, does this include options? Another one that says, it's a government-sponsored casino. Ooh. It's fugazi,
absolutely,
man. It's fugazi. It's a fugazi, man. Forget
That's
about
why the government wants to get into their own crypto.
Yep. Another one says Wall Street is going to need a lot more coke. Another comment says market makers gonna wait till everyone's asleep and then pull the rug at 3 a.m. Ooh, that's kind of scary too. Ooh.
That's exactly what I was saying about though how smaller traders, mom and pop people that are up in the middle of the night, people that are just hanging out with those screens up, like you said, are going to be like, fuck yeah.
Pull the trigger right now. And then if it's a whole bunch of people who do it. Yeah. If a bunch of people do it at one time, people are going to wake up with no money in their shit.
GameStop's going to be, there's going to be a whole bunch of different GameStops happening.
Let me read a couple more. It says, gotta compete with crypto. Another one, it says, the New York opening momentum will be missed as fuck. One more, it says, imagine a rug pull at 11:58 p.m.
We'll see. A lot of them do it that way on other markets too. I mean, trust me, BlackRock is not just on the American market.
Yeah, it's a global. The market is global anyways now. Like there's no way around it. We live in a global market now. Let's read this one. It says, still trying to figure out how a country 34.7 trillion in debt can give 95 billion to 3 foreign countries.
Because if we're out of it, we just print it. I've been saying that for years about how the government is acting like a kid, like an 18-year-old that got his first credit card, and no one sat and explained to him that he got to pay that fucking money back before the interest begins to become more than your income.
Ooh, I think we're all going down that road too.
And they're threatening our income.
Because we're all following the lead of the government. More credit cards to pay off the other credit cards. Mountains of
car loans, legalized usury right there.
Freaking the damn mortgages.
We'll load you $300 on your car, but we're going to take $100 a week out for the next 5 weeks. Hey, if I get some money, that's the first thing I want to do. I want to put a big bank account and everything, and I want to open a big chain of title loan companies.
Those are the worst. That shit is the devil. That shit is evil.
It is the devil, but you know what? It's a money maker.
That shit is so bad. I almost did one of those some months ago. I was trying to figure out how to pay for school, and I was like, damn, let me try to do something like that. And I went in there and we looked at the numbers, and then once I looked at it, I was like, I walked up out of there, man. I was like, because I did like a payday loan some years ago, and it took me
loans
forever.
are when you need food.
It took me forever to pay that shit.
They're when your electricity gets cut off in 3 hours.
They fucking was taking the money out of my account for the longest time after that shit. And like I say, I looked at the numbers and I was like, the math is not mathing here. This is bad math.
My girl got a payday loan for $250, and by the time it was paid off, she had spent $834.
That shit is crazy.
And she paid it off early.
That shit is crazy. If you don't pay it back within like the only way to break even is to pay it back within like a week or two or some shit like that.
That's what I'm saying. The payday loans, they're still expensive. They still charge you 30, 50, 30% even for that first week or two. But like I said, therefore, I'm getting paid next week, but I ain't got nothing to eat for the next 5 days.
Yeah.
That's if you don't use them like that, then you will fall to them.
Yeah, them things are the devil. I don't recommend anybody doing it ever. No matter what the circumstance is. The first top comment, it says, "This is unsustainable. Don't say we didn't warn you." The Free Thought Project is the one who posted this. This is crazy. I love the meme with the picture of the guy with the unshaven, smoking a cigarette with the Scully on. It's like, wow, like stress the hell out. Craziness, insanity. Okay, this is the Dallas to Houston one. Let's read this right quick. It says, Amtrak all in on Houston to Dallas bullet train as publicity efforts ramp up. So they haven't broken ground on this. It says, we really think Dallas to Houston is the one. It ticks all the boxes. Amtrak Senior Vice President Andy Byford on the Dallas to Houston bullet train.
Fastest growing metropolises in the States, Dallas and Houston. You've got a good intermediate stop at college. There's a lot of people flying between Dallas and Houston, but to be fair, it's really kind of too short to fly. By the time you've got to the airport and gone through everything. So we really think Dallas to Houston is the one. What we're looking to do is introduced the legendary Japanese bullet train, the Shinkansen. That train will cover the 240 miles at 205 miles an hour. The average speed will be about 187 miles per hour, which is actually would be the fastest average speed in the world. Why Dallas to Houston? Something like 5th and 6th fastest growing metropolises in the States, Dallas and Houston. You've got a good intermediate stop at college. There's a lot of people flying between Dallas and Houston, but to be fair,
So at that speed, how long would it take? I wish you would have said that. All right, I don't want to sit here and
187, 300 miles, about hour and a half, maybe, depending upon where they put the terminals. Hour and a half, 2 hours.
Nice. It would take way longer to fly there. It would take longer to get through the airports. Let's read it. Houston Pub Media. Amtrak, the National Passenger Railroad Company of the United States, which has taken the lead on a long-planned high-speed railway between Texas' two largest cities, continued to explore the initiative, but also promoted the idea in a video release this week. If Texas ends up getting a long-envisioned high-speed railway between Houston and Dallas, the Amtrak executive now leading the initiative says it would feature the fastest trains in the world. Houston Public Media's Adam Zuvanich wrote about the Dallas to Houston transportation proposal. Watch the full-length Amtrak video at houstonpublicmedia.org. Man, I wish they would just stop talking about it and freaking break ground. So first comment, it says Dallas to Houston to San Antonio to Austin to Dallas. That would be great. That's what you were saying.
They're going to connect the cities, yes.
Yeah, that's what you were saying. The little triangle, that would be like a triangle, right? Because you got San Antonio in the west, you got Dallas up north, and Houston down. So yeah, that would be badass. And if you had like some buses or something, some kind of like bus stations that was near
a couple of hundred years from now, it's all gonna that quadrangle is gonna be one huge giant city sprawl.
Be so nice. And you know, a lot of that space is empty. Come to think of it, you know what I mean? Because Texas is
it's farmland. I don't consider that exactly empty.
Yeah, not really empty. I mean, you get what I'm saying. I mean, there's not much going on there.
It's country.
You know, so that would be an economic boom, big time. You know, if you got people moving through there, the local communities can, you know,
not at all. No, it's not. It would not be, because all it's going to do is blow through. It doesn't stop at all these places. That's the idea of the bullet train.
Okay, yeah.
It starts here and it ends there.
Yeah.
They may make a short stop in between if there's enough communities in the area to warrant a stop. But the idea is to get them from here to there as fast as possible.
So stops would people wouldn't like.
Show that one that I sent you on Messenger about the maglev that uses. It's really short. It's only like a minute or two, and it's just a brief rundown of what the product is, and you'll be able to see what I'm talking about. How it may revolutionize to where they don't need to build a whole separate bullet train line and all of that.
Okay, I'm pulling it up right now. Where is it?
If this stuff actually works like it's showing, this is like investment time in this company.
On normal existing train tracks. This groundbreaking innovation from IronLev is truly a game changer. Unlike the existing maglev systems, IronLev doesn't require dedicated tracks. Instead, this technology allows us to benefit from all the advantages of maglev trains without having to build new infrastructure. This means that high-speed travel will become very accessible, making transportation faster and more efficient. This is incredible. What you are looking at is the first maglev train to run on normal existing train tracks. This groundbreaking innovation from IronLev is truly a game changer. Unlike the existing maglev systems, IronLev doesn't require dedicated tracks. Instead, This technology allows us to benefit from all the advantages of maglev trains without having to build new infrastructure. This means that high-speed travel will become very accessible, making transportation faster and more efficient. This is
That's
yeah, but
what I was talking about.
it looks really small. I mean, I guess this is a prototype or whatever.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They're working on this technology. It's not full blown yet, but if they can get this technology developed, they don't have to build a separate mag line. They can use the existing train tracks and everything and still be able to use a higher speed capability, meaning they could also upgrade standard trains to the technology and be able to start doing standard trains through quicker.
Yeah, that sounds great.
That's what I'm saying. If this technology is good, I'd like to see some research into their technology and see what other people say. But now would be a real good time to toss a couple of $100 into their stock. Because if nothing else, Amtrak and stuff will buy them up just so they can't release the technology and challenge them. Which means the value will go up and change into Amtrak stock, which you then sell because it's going downhill really bad.
Let's look at this. Multiple times on the show, I've mentioned how I feel like we should reimagine how we build the cities, and stop building them, for cars, if you will. But anyways, let's check this out.
1,000 people moving to our city, and we have to build a suburban development on this piece of land. If we follow existing development designs, we end up with a street network that looks like this, along with the required water retention ponds that handle runoff in Florida. We start building traditional large single-family homes and quickly fill up our land with houses. If we consider the average household size of 2.5 people in the US, this means we only have enough housing for 500 of the 1,000 people. So we have to buy more land, build more roads and utilities, and build more houses. Now we've housed all 1,000 people, but these people have nowhere to shop or eat, no parks, and no schools. So we need to either buy more land to build these things, or all of these people will have to drive to the existing places, creating more traffic on the existing roads. But if we change how we build, it would be a different story. Instead, let's start with changing the layout of our street network. Rather than winding streets optimized for isolation, let's instead optimize for connectivity and public space. We'll start with this area and treat it as a town center, building some mixed-use buildings. Buildings like these would provide places to shop, eat, work, and live. Next, we can build different types of housing. This could be things like duplexes, which have 2 dwellings per unit, cottage courts, which are small individual dwellings that share a common space, townhouses, which are a row of dwellings in a larger building, apartments, and a variety of detached single-family homes, including ones with front yards and garages in the back, and some traditional larger ones with big yards and driveways. While the average household size is 2.5 people, now that we have a wider variety of housing types, different size households can choose a housing type that might be a better match for their needs. For example, a single young adult might choose to live in a cottage, while a retired couple might choose to live in a townhouse, and a family of 4 might choose to live in a big house with a backyard. Taking this into consideration, we're able to redistribute our average household size by housing type. And when we look at our entire development, we've managed to not only house all 1,000 people without having to buy any additional land, but we've also made space for shops, restaurants, and offices. In fact, we still have some room to spare. We can use this space for a school, parks, public pools, or more mixed use. Since we didn't have to purchase more land, all of that additional land purchased in the first example is able to remain untouched, whether that's natural wildlife habitat or productive farmland. And the local government doesn't have to pay for and maintain all of those additional roads and utilities that would have been built. This example uses 1,000 people and a small piece of land for the sake of simplicity to show this concept. But when you apply this same concept to the scale of some of the massive developments going in with several thousand acres, this can equate to huge differences in terms of land saved. And keep in mind, this is still very much a suburban development. Sure, it'd be possible to fit 10,000 people into the same amount of space and would be much more efficient, but that would make this feel much more like a dense urban setting. And the reality is, many people don't want to live in that level of density. In this example, almost half of the people living here would still be living in detached single-family homes. Everyone can still own a car, with all of the homes having garages or dedicated parking spaces, but it would also be easy to get around by walking or biking. And for those driving around a development like this, the streets would be designed in a way to encourage slow speeds and be significantly safer than many of the high-speed roads common in the suburbs. Let's pretend we have 1,000 people moving to.
So yeah, and what I've noticed is that they've already been changing the way that they build stuff, and a lot of the newer areas that they're building around the city, like City Center. There's another one over there. Where is that? It's like 59 and 610 over there, Westheimer. Where they're building these areas that are not very car friendly and they're very pedestrian friendly. And then, so, all of the things that you need are within the community, close distance or whatever. So the housing that you live in is there. And then you also have restaurants, shops, so forth and so on, all in the same area. And also the way that they build the streets, it's all like bumpy, if you will, for lack of a better way to describe it. It's like it's these rocks, like not like loose rocks, but it's like it's bumpy, so it forces the cars, and then it's scrolls. It's not as wide, so it forces the cars to drive slower through there. So it's much more friendly to pedestrians. So people walk.
Mind you, that also increases the wear and tear on your vehicles by driving over that. Shock, suspension, bottoms, tires.
Well, the point is for it to not be friendly to the cars, to kind of incentivize you to bike, walk, to
not force you to.
I like incentivize better because you still have the option to drive.
Of course you do. That makes it seem like a choice rather than a tax on living in an area like that, rather than a side effect.
I really hate the way that we build the cities where it's so car friendly and people are speeding down fucking residential neighborhoods and shit, and we're stuck in traffic all fucking day. Like it's stupid. It's really dumb. You spend a bunch of money on gas and live in your car and in traffic all day.
That's because cities are not the natural environments for people. They were crossroads and places for people to come meet and then go away back home to.
Well, we don't.
They weren't meant to live in mass. They were meant as trading posts. The people that lived there were just the people that worked there, not a large en masse situation. I mean, seriously. And this particular city was not designed like most modern cities have been. This is literally a whole bunch of small little towns and outposts that grew up and into a big city. That's why we don't have the straight lines and all of that through most of the city like most of the places do.
Yeah, well,
I'm all for no zoning. I've already said if I hit big, there's a 6-story building right over on Richmond that I'm gonna buy. And I'm on like any of my friends that want to come, I'll give you minimal rent. You build your own, how many square feet, it'll work in there. I'm going to have 58,000, each floor has 58,000 square feet. I'm going to get a bar and a restaurant and stuff in the bottom. I'm going to let 3 or 4 floors be like any business it wants to. And I'm going to make 2 floors where we can put some residential crap and stuff like that. And then whatever I don't use and stuff like that, maybe our own little bowling alley for just our friends that use the top and shit, And of course, we're going to have broadcast studio, recording studio, and all that up in there.
Well, the city
we'll set you up with chocolate TV.
The city has become a behemoth, juggernaut mess, and there's no reason to continue going down this road. We can envision a different. We can center work-life balance in our life instead of, commute.
The thing is, it needs to be the choice of the people that are doing it. It doesn't need to be beaten into somebody's head or chosen for them.
Well, they don't have to live in those communities. They can go live in the suburbs and commute back and forth and stay in traffic all day if they want to.
But see, now you're talking about taking down their homes and making them move so you can build your city.
No, they don't have to move. They can live in the community or not.
Exactly. We're going to change everything, whether you like it or not. You can either stay or you can leave. What's that starting to sound like?
Well, this is improvement. This is progression.
Of course, it's for your own good.
Let me read a couple comments. It says
100% is for your own good. I mean, the government says so.
this, these are done by private people. This isn't done by the government. Let me read a couple comments.
Basically, the comments pretty much say exactly how I feel about it. These top ones, they're really accurate in the way they're talking about it.
Yeah, so Streetcraft, it says, let's look at some changes we could make. First comment says, as a European, the fact that this is considered some sort of revolutionary design is downright bizarre to me. Another one that says, you've designed a 15-minute city, no need for a car or to leave the city, literally an open prison. Another comment says, so basically a college campus. Another one that says, it all comes down to demand. Go ahead.
No, I was saying, that I agreed with. I know it sounds funny, but I actually agreed with all three of those statements. One, everyone thinks this is a revolutionary idea. They've been doing it in Europe for a long, long time. If you've ever visited pretty much any country except North America, they build little boroughs or neighborhoods, and they're like those little 15-minute cities. There's some that are even so much that you own a scooter and a car, or you just own a scooter and you drive your car. They have a car park at the edge. You jump on the scooter that you own so you can get into your neighborhood, your little zone area if you have to do that. And then, college campus looks a lot like a college campus. The way dorms and frat houses and stuff are set up, and then your buildings and all that toward the middle. And yes, it is basically an open air prison. It is a small, sealed off little community with little or nothing needed from the outside. So no reason to go outside.
But that doesn't make it a prison because you can leave.
Yes, you can, if you can afford to.
Another comment says, and now all these different kinds of people will socialize with each other and actually build community. You know,
a whole bunch of isolated communities.
I think that the point should be people first. You know, that should be the thought when you doing these things. And so we're so separated. We're so separated and segregated, probably like never before. As a result,
this is going to turn into segregation, because eventually it's going to be all those little communities are going to be just of certain ethnicities, countries, ideologies. I've actually seen that little 15-minute city set up right there as a church-based town kind of situation where everything was centered around the church and all that. Everyone's all the smaller. It's like, it's round us into camps, keep us all with the same thought patterns, and a little less need to communicate outside of them because you got everything you need. It's so much easier to take over that way.
Let's do this one last story. I didn't realize we're getting to 4 a.m. I got to work tomorrow. Check this one out. It says Coca-Cola is the largest contributor of plastic pollution in the world, new study finds. And what I've been saying on the show for the longest time is related to how they want to put the blame on individuals. Use your reusable grocery bag, and use your metal straw, your paper straw, or whatever, your cup,
Hey, I do use a metal straw.
Your Stanley cup or
Since
whatever.
Before it was cool.
And do your part to save the environment or whatever. And I'm like, that shit don't have no damn impact, really. If you really want to have an impact, then you put pressure on these companies, these corporations, to do their packaging differently. to produce their products differently, to have a sustainable model within their production. And then the impact you're going to have is going to be dramatic.
I lost faith in a whole bunch of these people that scream about the environment during the whole pandemic. When they didn't put biohazard or barrels outside of places, public places, to drop your masks in and your gloves in, when people combing the beaches were pulling up pounds and pounds of masks that have washed into the sea from parking lots and things like that, when I saw masks literally strewn, a tumbleweed practically of masks rolling around in parking lots like HEB and places like that. Where's your conservation? You're worried about the environment and all that stuff, and you're worried about, lingering death in the air, but what happened to your concern for where I accidentally dropped a cigarette butt last week? Or where I threw the rest of my hamburger out my window, but I kept the wrapper in the bag beside me. I don't know. These days that may not be good because these hamburgers can last for a few years in the fridge.
Yeah, so
I throw organics out the window because they're organics.
They should biodegrade, or a dog's gonna come eat it or something.
Yeah, a dog, a bird.
But you're still not supposed to. I do the same thing. I ain't gonna lie, but you
if I would
probably
put it in a compost heap, I would probably throw it out the window.
Yeah. Well, me and you, we probably shouldn't do that. I'm gonna say that. Let me play this.
I'll explain. 56 brands led by the Coca-Cola Company are responsible for more than half of the plastic pollution found across the globe, according to a new study. An international team of volunteers collected and surveyed more than 1,870,000 items of plastic waste across 84 countries over 5 years. The bulk of the rubbish collected was single-use packaging for food, beverage, and tobacco products. The study's author, Marcus Erickson, a plastic pollution expert from the Five Gyres Institute, said, quote, "The industry likes to put the responsibility on the individual, but we'd like to point out that it's the brands. It's their choice for the kinds of packaging they use and for embracing this throwaway model of delivering their goods. That's what's causing the greatest abundance of trash." The study also notes that the production of plastic doubled in the past 20 years, from 20 million tons in 2000 to 40 million tons in 2019. Coca-Cola is responsible for more than half of the plastic pollution globally, a new study finds.
They said Coca-Cola is responsible for more than half of the plastic pollution. So, like, you can say the green energy push is a scam, and I can sympathize with you, but let's talk about the trash. Let's talk about the emissions, what we're breathing in, the plastic in the water, that we're actually drinking. This right here, I don't think anybody can disagree that this is a problem that should be taken care of. Like, we keep going down this road, we're going to be living in a sea of freaking garbage, a literal sea of trash. We're going to be swimming in trash. So we can't keep going down this particular road that we're going down. Something's gotta give.
Google the Northern Trash Archipelago or something like that. I can't remember the exact name. There is literally a huge island, basically, of trash floating around in like 2 or 3 places in the ocean.
Yeah.
That ships have to steer around, or they'll get all gooked up and mired in all the trash.
Yeah.
Literally, this is a real thing.
Fuck around and sink because they damn
gets all caught up in their rotors and stuff, and they got to get all of it, get it unplugged and everything. And you can't gear the boat to it because they'll get their shit clogged up.
Crazy. This is a real problem. And to deal with it, it should be us putting pressure on these companies on how they fucking do things. So, but if it's profit over people, it's all about last quarter. It's all about the investors. then that push leads them to doing this because they find cheaper ways to do what they do.
It's called the Great Pacific Garbage Patch.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, again, holding the corporations accountable to do things in a different way will have a much greater impact than using your metal straw or your reusable Stanley cup. But that's what they tell us. They tell us that, the responsibility is on us, to consume responsibly. Meanwhile, freaking Coca-Cola is responsible for 50% of the damn plastic. So that one company, if changed the way that they did their packaging, it would have possibly 50%, lower amount of trash in the environment as a result. Let's read this. It says Coca-Cola, along with 55 other brands, is identified as leading contributor to global plastic pollution, accounting for over half of plastic waste. Food and beverage companies are major polluters. The top 5 brands include Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Nestle, Danone, and Altria. The study emphasizes the need for producer reporting and highlights Coca-Cola's efforts to make its packaging recyclable and increase the use of recycled material. Researchers advocate for phasing out single-use plastics to reduce pollution. Negotiations are ongoing for a global treaty to combat plastic pollution. Yeah, man, we're never going to be able to fix this if we can't put pressure on these companies to produce their products in a different way. And then the recycling of the plastics is a scam. So that doesn't really work. That's BS, something that they sold us that doesn't really work. You can use other types of materials, or you can, we did better back in the days remember when you had those soda machines that had the glass bottles, and then you could bring them back, they give you a nickel or whatever, and they wash them and clean them. And
there are still states that do that.
I mean, that was a better system than what we have right now today.
Somewhere I can't remember, it's a country though, but you take like your plastic, like your liter bottles and stuff like that, and you put them in there, and it's like a shredder machine, and it grinds it up, and then you get a credit. I don't know if it's a store credit or a vendor credit or cash for doing it, for the weight of whatever you put in. I saw that going through a reel the other night.
Yeah, but I saw where they just fucking box that shit up and send it to another country because they can't really reuse that.
What they're doing is a lot of the ones, what they got caught doing was they're shipping them to Africa, where they're being burned in landfills.
Yeah,
in mass. And all that black tar plastic is just over there instead of here.
Yeah, so now we're breathing it in instead of
we're just moving the place where the carbon footprint ends up at.
And that's
if they burned it here, it would be bad. If they burned it over there, since there's not so much of a carbon footprint going on,
the carbon footprint is
spreads it around the world. Calm down. I'm being facetious about this.
Okay, yeah. So
please understand, when I do a tone like this, I'm making fun of shit.
Yeah, okay, I get you. But breathing that shit in is worse than talking about, a carbon footprint. Like,
hell yeah, man.
Screw the carbon footprint.
I don't want cheetahs running around there fucking getting like 40 yards and coughing up that shit.
My dad's people was in Riverside, Texas, and the law is different when it comes to trash. So they would do these bonfires regularly and burn a lot of their trash. And it was like, but
I burn a lot of stuff in the country too.
So, and I love burning stuff. I'm a pyromaniac, but freaking that smoke that comes off of that shit is toxic as hell.
Yes. Especially when you throw shit in there just to see the colors.
tires and fucking
Yeah, now that's I don't burn that kind of stuff.
plastic.
Plastic bottles, all that stuff, yeah. But not like tires, and there's some other stuff that nothing that comes out of a car.
Yeah.
Say, nothing looks like it would have been worn by Michael Jackson in the 80s.
Let me read a couple comments. This one, it says, remember when it came in glass bottles and you deposited your glass bottle? Who created the problem? That's exactly what I just said. Another one, it says, they're not responsible how the customer disposes of the trash. Oh my God, bro. Like, see, this is what the fuck is the problem is people who think like this. Yes, they're responsible. Why do we buy stuff and it's in a package, in a box, in a bag, in a box, in a bag? You know, why is the packaging like that? You know,
remember, we're the country that stopped using plastic straws to start using paper straws wrapped in plastic.
You know, and you know,
Am I lying? Am I lying when I say that?
No, because at my restaurant we have usually we use plastic straws with the paper wrapping, but sometimes we get those paper straws with the plastic wrapping.
Plastic wrapping, yeah. I man, the first time I saw that, I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me?"
And then sometimes we get plastic straws with plastic wrapping. So it's like, this way of thinking of pushing the blame on the consumer is how we get this situation where we have these mountains of trash everywhere.
There is somewhat reasonable basis to that statement. Being, as consumers, we should be doing better too.
Yeah, but all of these one-use items is just producing more trash regardless.
Well, that's because we keep buying these one-use items. If we didn't buy them for our own convenience, they wouldn't do it because they make more money by putting it into smaller amounts and charging higher for it because we're too lazy and entitled to do what our parents did and buy the fucking block or buy the whatever and portion it out. Or we're too irresponsible and we end up becoming fat asses because we consume too much because we won't break it down.
Well, we don't have that option in a lot of cases. A lot of the stuff is only one use. Like, it's the way it's produced. It's produced to be consumed and discarded. Another comment says, who the F is drinking Coke for real? I try to avoid it as best I can. Sometimes I know it's pretty damn addictive. I ain't gonna lie. When you drink one, you're gonna want some more of it. I don't know what they put in there. They put some crack in there and make you want to drink some more of that stuff. But I try to avoid it. Mostly I try to avoid it because of all of the sugar and the caffeine. Terrible, terrible. The worst kinds of sugars too.
I'm just now starting to drink Cokes again after years of not drinking them, but a lot of it's because I stopped drinking water, Houston water, because it tastes like ass.
That's a good reason to not drink it.
It's Houston water, and now I'm living over in the Beach Nut Willcrest area, and the water's worse over here than it was off of Westheimer.
Damn. Yeah, man. Everybody knows in Houston we don't drink the water here. No sir, no ma'am.
And then all the water you find at the store is either minerals and this added or that added or stuff like that,
or it's bottled up tap water,
or it's purified, and are like distilled, which isn't really as good for you. You don't hydrate that as well as you do non-distilled water.
Yeah. So we got but
it's better for making coffee because it keeps your coffee machine cleaner.
Man, so the options are very sad. You can drink poop water or mineral, like, they do have
Yeah.
some good bottled waters.
I fill one of these up every night before I come home from work, 5 nights a week. So at least 5 days I drink 1 or 2 of these at work, and then one when I get home.
Yeah.
And
I think
this
the
is a
best
big
thing
old 40-ounce cup.
Yeah, I think the best thing you could do is drink the filtered water.
Well, at
and
work
buy
we
it.
filter it coming into the building, and then there's a double filter behind the waiter's stand.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes the water, it smells like bleach and it's like thick.
Oh, like the first week after they change the filters. Ugh.
Let me read a couple more. It says the problem is that there are no green or recyclable wrapping as efficient as plastic. Some products have durability like glass or wood based, but heavier and costly. Some are light and thin, paper and other natural fiber, but not durable enough. If people do not buy the brands and just use local products that only produce in limited numbers and don't need to be stocked for long, maybe the world be healthier. Not using plastic wrapping, no over preservation. Yeah, they just need to produce the stuff better, and they could, but it's all about money, and they're not going to. So they have to be forced, like you say. I'd be saying, but yes, they do.
90% of people also don't realize that probably within a half a mile to a mile of them, somewhere in greater Houston area, sometime during the week, there's a farmer's market.
Yeah.
I mean, I know they're up and down Westheimer weekly. I know Westheimer and Beltway 8 on West Side, the church there has a farmer's market every Thursday. There's another one down off at Eldridge. And that's just local farmers and local people coming and bringing the stuff that they grow and selling it, and coffee people. And I know the one at the church, there's a tamale lady that's there. She's got some good stuff.
Yeah.
Houston, we like our we like our tamales, like our firearms.
Mm-hmm.
In a parking lot out the back of a trunk.
It's gonna be the best tasting ones you get, probably. Let me read this. It says that's not.
They tie up the sauce in the baggie instead of putting it in the little container. Yeah,
Mhm.
You know it's gonna be good then.
Yeah. It's like a drug deal. They're dealing drugs. Let me read this. It says that's not Coca-Cola. It's the people that throw the garbage anywhere. Whatever. Another one that says, why does the recycling fall to the consumer? The manufacturer puts out a product. They should be responsible of its life cycle. No more new plastic needs to be made. When can make plastic out of recycled plastic? We need to clean this world up ASAP. That includes plastic clothes. Stop buying fast fashion. If you don't know what my plastics are, check your lint in your dryer.
Okay, I want to point out one thing. If there was a way to make money by recycling or reusing this plastic, they would be doing it already.
Yeah, it does. I was gonna say that it doesn't work like that.
When the first person that finds a way to actually start making a profit off of recycling that is going to be the next Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk.
Yeah, because it breaks down, so it doesn't. It's nearly impossible to do that.
And then each recycle, it gets weaker and weaker.
Yeah, it's nearly impossible to do it. So I'm gonna get out of here. It's 4 a.m. Houston time. So
I've been playing Helldivers 2 a lot lately. I'm gonna go kill some bugs.
Yeah,
it's very Starship Troopers like kind of game.
I love that movie. It was great. The satire, the comedy, it was fantastic.
It's actually in the game too. You're fighting for Super Earth.
Yeah, I love it. It was so perfect. Well done.
I'll send you the preview or the opening scene to the game. You'll probably love it.
Well, let me get out of here, y'all. Peace and love. Thank y'all for listening. Thank y'all for joining. I think we had a good talk today, starting off with the religion and stuff. Pretty good stuff.
Very good one. Very good one.
All right, y'all. Till next time. Peace and love.